Friggin' TikTok, man. Like, I don't know why it does that. Changes my background. Changes my background. It's so dumb. So you guys are gonna watch me mess around with TikTok for a second. Because TikTok can't get its act together. They're probably gonna ban me anyway soon enough, so it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even friggin' matter. Green screen. Yeah, here we go. And bibbity bobbity. I know this is exciting content, guys. This is what you tune in for, watching me mess with technicalities because TikTok can't get its act together. Here, did it do it? Yeah, it did it. Very good. 2, 1, boom, we're on. We're on. Cotton, don't be sick. I would love to not be sick, dude. Doesn't seem to be getting any better. Just doesn't seem to be getting any better, bud. Like that's the hard truth of it. Oh, could you technically me? I would appreciate that. I hope you're doing well out there, guys. I hope you're doing well. I took yesterday off. I feel like I've been like the most negligent streamer of life. Like, Anemone, good to see you. Last week I wasn't able to do any streaming because I was dealing with roach infestation. Got a guy in here to spray the place. And now I'm just sick. And Monday's stream I had to cut real short because I was just too sick to do it. And then yesterday I didn't do a stream at all because I was sick and I couldn't do it. And now I'm still sick. I still feel the same. It's no change, no real change. And I'm really upset about it. It's like really held me back. Like I've been doing workouts, I've been doing like all kinds of stuff. So it's like I'm really no, it's not my throat. It's not my throat. It's all right here, right? And it's in here. It's in here. So nothing in the throat. My throat feels fine. Bro, you're looking pretty good regardless. Thank you, Cotton. You know what, man? I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I feel like over the last month, I've been doing a lot of growing. Doing a lot of growing over this last month. I feel like a lot of things that I used to look at and like really care about, a lot of things I used to think really mattered to me, don't anymore. And I just feel like I'm like I feel like I look like Kratos, and I feel like I've got this sort of Kratos mindset right now of just like, fuck off. Like, I don't care, right? I sound a little different. I got to be honest, Anemone, I think that part of that is exactly what I just talked about. That, like, you know, I feel like there was this thing I was doing where I was like, talking like this, you know, hey, everybody, how you doing? Like, kind of getting into my higher register. Be like, hey, how you doing today? Everything's great. And it's fucking annoying. Like, I'm no longer interested in pretending or putting that guy forward. You know, that guy's still part of me for sure. This like, hey, I'm a nice guy. Hey, ha ha ha. I'm trying to be appealing and all that kind of stuff. Fuck that. Like, I took one look in the mirror after I shaved my head. I took one look in the mirror and was like, oh, Kratos. There he is. There's Kratos, right? And honestly, like, I'm so like I've got news articles, I've got things we're gonna talk about all today, but I'm so fucking exhausted with this worthless culture, this fucking absolute worthless, pathetic, ridiculous culture that we're all pretending has any value whatsoever. Like, I'm so fucking over it. That like I'm no longer interested in playing nice anymore. Like, I'm looking forward to TikTok people coming on over to YouTube and trying to play this old game that they play as if this culture has any credibility whatsoever. This pathetic, worthless culture that has absolutely nothing to offer to the world. That the faster it dies, the better we'll be. And it just needs to fucking die. I'll take a look at that later, Anemone. Anemone, your art, like, I really admire what you're doing. Like, it's really something what you're up to. Like, I feel like the one that you made, the pink one, of the building that you made, like, that's like a video game, dude. Well, Led LC coming hot out the box with a donation of $4.99. I appreciate that, Led. I don't know if I've ever seen you here before, bud. So God bless you. That's very polite and kind of you. I appreciate that. Makes me feel a lot better about myself, I tell you what. Hopefully one day I'll never need to fucking get any donations. Make sure you hit the like button, guys. Hit the thing. Do the bells, do the whistles. We're fighting the algorithm, so we might as well try, right? Once again, thank you, Led. I appreciate that, bud. Content says, I'm reading a subreddit post in a woman's forum where they're saying they do not and will not date conservative, moderate, libertarian, and apolitical men. Yeah, the ladies are all right. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I could use a lady in my life right now. I tell you what, I'm so fucking. I don't know. I had a moment where I was starting to pursue relationships and that, and I've just come to realize like I've got more building of myself to do. I was in a relationship for 10 years and I like had this moment where I was pursuing a woman, and it just made me realize like I'm not ready for it. I gotta keep doing chin-ups. I gotta keep doing push-ups. I gotta keep working on myself, right? I gotta shave my head, right? Become a grown-up. You know, become a fucking grown-up, and we'll see. Like, I just don't give a shit right now. I just don't give a shit at all. You know, like I hope one day I'll find my Morticia, but we'll see how it goes. Sarah, good to see you. Good to see you, Sarah. Look at Z, good to see you. You'll need to pick up his Spartan stoicism. As in, you'll talk way less and in very few words. I don't think I can ever do that. I do know that when I was a younger man, I was more flippant with the way that I spoke. But I mean, you guys tune in. Like I speak for 3 hours straight on these podcasts, and so it's just like I don't think I'll ever get that going on. Talk way less in very few words. Nah, that's not who I am, and I don't think it'll ever be. Like these. You think it might be the chemicals from the exterminator? I haven't ruled it out. But like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not gonna live in an apartment full of fucking bugs and shit, you know? Like, if I ever want to bring a woman over here, like, she's gonna take one look at all these fucking roaches and be like, okay, bye, you know? Fuck that. Ethan Huntley, my god, man. Every time I see your name, I'm just like, there is the most British man. I know that I harp on it every single time, so I think this will be the last time, but like, dude, do you have a cup of tea right now? Be honest. Yes, no. Are you drinking a cup of tea right fucking now? Thoughts on the British government right now? It's in a huge mess. Dude, the British government's a catastrophe. Like, it's beyond a huge mess. Your prime minister is literally a Goldman Sachs executive. You're passing the most fascist legislation. Things are getting so bad in Britain that they're actually letting communists onto the panels finally, because even the most far-right people are starting to recognize that things are such a catastrophe that we've got to actually start listening to somebody, right? We've got to actually put aside this stupid fucking ridiculous notion that the communists have nothing worth saying and actually focus on solving problems, right? There's one woman that I keep seeing on British television. I can't remember her name offhand, but she's of Indian descent, and she's literally like talking the way that I'm talking on your news media. Like it's a fucking total disaster. Yeah, I made sure the method was pet safe for Milo. Yeah, Milo hasn't been in the apartment since. He's been over at my ex's. So Eric says I'm sounding a lot better tonight. That's nice of you to say, Eric. I appreciate it. Good to see you, bud. So the British government's a fucking disaster, dude. Like, when they passed the legislation that made it illegal to protest, literally, not only did they make it illegal to protest, they made it so that if you were involved in protest movements within the last 5 years, you could get picked up by the police. It's fascism. Like, there's no way to talk about it. Like, there's no other way to talk about it. Like, let's call it what it is. It's fascism. And then the leaders of the opposition, Labour, they're not going to be better. Like, they're not going to be better. Like, the whole system is corrupt. The whole system's been bought by corporate oligarchs. There's no recovering it. Like, this is something that I think that everybody's got their kind of fingers crossed, and they're looking at figures like Jeremy Corbyn or Bernie Sanders, and they're sitting there going like, oh, maybe we can vote our way out of it. It's not going to fucking happen. Like, it's not going to fucking happen. It's grow up time. Like, I'm so fucking, I say this over and over and over and over again, and it's never going to penetrate. We're going to collapse as a society before this shit starts to penetrate, before we actually start to recognize that, like, and I mean, like, as if we haven't already collapsed. We already have, like, massive derailments happening. We have huge, like, Chernobyl-level events that are occurring. There was literally yet another derailment that happened in Ohio again. Like, and we're just like, well, what are we gonna be? Kids are literally picking up guns and doing school shootings. Like, all the signs are right there, right? And we're just not interested. Like, we're just fucking not interested. We're just gonna wake up, go to McDonald's, right? Eat a bunch of fucking burgers, go to our stupid jobs that are pointless, that achieve nothing, fill out some fucking paperwork, go home, jerk off, watch some Netflix or Amazon Prime or something, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. That's what our whole fucking life is, and it's just dumb. It's just the dumbest shit of life. We love stupidity. We're in love with our stupidity. We love how stupid we are. We're happy with how stupid we are. And we're not interested in solving it. We're not interested in any of that. If we were interested in solving it, we would have abandoned all of these political parties 5 years ago. But we're not interested in that. That whenever I hear, like, there are people who I pay attention to and that I consider to be like reasonable, rational people, and they're still caught in this mindset of like, oh, the conservatives are the real problem, you know, or the Republicans are the real problem. We got to make sure that we keep voting Democrat or keep voting Liberal or keep voting NDP or anything. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with your dumb brain? They're all allies. They all work together. They're obviously gaming you. And what we need to do is abandon them en masse completely. Completely. Like, if you're voting conservative, liberal, NDP, green, you're dumb. You're dumb. There's just no other way to call it. If you're voting conservative, if you're voting Republican or Democrat, you're fucking dumb. You're a dupe. You're a complete and total dupe. That they've put forward a WWE bullshit thing right in front of your face, and you're just going, yeah, it's the other guy that's the problem. And they're the same party. They're the same fucking people. The only thing that's actually going to matter, the only thing that's actually going to change anything is if we gather en masse and surround the halls of power and stay there. Because the whole thing's a fucking disaster, and it's going to continue being a disaster, and eventually it's going to get obvious. Like, where even the thickest person in the world, they're like, literally like, we're the greatest country in the world! We're the greatest country in the world! Even that guy's going to be like, I don't know, guys, something seems to be going wrong. Like, it's going to happen. Ethan says, yeah, the government is so back and forth on policies and legislations, it's ridiculous. They have no idea how bad the state of living is. They literally don't care. They are stuck 10 years ago. No, they're not stuck 10 years ago, dude. It's gotten so bad that these guys are stuck like 250 years ago. Like, this is a new aristocracy. Like, stop fucking bullshitting yourself. Your queen died. Long live Remy Sunak or whatever his fucking name is, right? Those are your kings. Those are your rulers. They own you. You do not have a democracy. That's a fucking joke. The democracy that you do have is vote whichever king you want. That's what you're actually doing. There's no, like, none of these people are ever going to respond to you. You're literally a monarchy again. We're all fucking monarchies again, you understand? Capitalism has collapsed backwards. We are feudalism. And it's not going to get any fucking better. And the thing that fucking annoys me is that we're all pretending like it is. We're all pretending like, yeah, the thing to do is to keep participating in the system that's collapsed and failed completely. That's the thing to do. Yep, we're going to make our way out of this. Sarah says, I'm talking about relationships. I've been in a secret relationship with my... What? Sarah, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you've been in a secret relationship with your aunt for a year. Sarah, what's going on? I'm gonna assume that this is like a typo. Like, what is happening over there? Ethan says, no tea, but I have a crumpet. I was pretty fucking close, bud. I was pretty fucking close. Nice haircut, says Jade. Thank you, Jade. I appreciate that. It was necessary for my mental health. Had to get rid of the old hair. I was starting to feel like a skeezy old man. You know how you see like a dude who's like 50 and he's got like the receding hairline, he's got a ponytail? I was starting to feel like that. It was just like, oh, I gotta get rid of this shit. I gotta get out of here. Staz, good to see you, Staz. Did you hear about the Canadian grocer CEOs being questioned in Parliament today? Yeah, I got a link about it. Well, I think I'll be talking about that more tomorrow. and perhaps the stream after. I will be talking about that later. I'm gonna wait and see what they have to say. I tuned into the live stream very briefly, and honestly, it just looked like owners being jerked off by their surrogates. That's what it looked like. That the people who were asking the questions were like, "Sir, if you please could, if you probably could, if you could provide that information for us, that would be absolutely wonderful. We are here to represent the people of Canada in these trying days, and if we could possibly get the information." And the owners basically be like, "Yeah, I guess we'll get you that information when we can, Like, that's what it looked like to me. It just looked like a hand job. It looked like a total fucking faff. And when I actually watched the playback of it, that's probably what it's going to be. And the news media is going to report on it like, well, very reasonable responses from the ownership class who owns the means of production and owns your food and is raising your prices over and over again. That's the way it's going to be reported. That's the way everybody's going to fucking talk about it. Nobody's actually going to say, hey, why do these guys exist in the system at all? Why do people like Galen Weston exist in the system at all? Literally has Loblaws, one of the largest grocery chain magnates in the country, because he was born that way. And we're all just like, yeah, he extended the meritocracy. We're very intelligent. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Bugatti boy? Shitty name, dude. Fucking shitty name, Bugatti boy. Like, get away from that Andrew Tate shit. Fucking sex offenders and sex traffickers. Probably want to change that name, bro. Have I ever heard of a dose of Buckley? No. Eric, the part that I find so amazing is that there are libs who think the Radio Free Europe is reputable news source. Yeah, if it says Radio Free, it's CIA. Like, I don't know why the CIA insists on being so obvious. Like, they've named all of their shit Radio Free this or Radio Free that, and it's like so fucking obvious. And I don't know why we're supposed to be paying attention to the CIA outside of like, let's listen to what the terrorists say. I literally got into a debate over that in the last 24 hours on an anarchist page where the guy literally quoted, Radio Free Europe to dismiss the Russian claim of neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine. And on top of that, he thinks that anyone who worked for RT are Russian propagandists. I mean, it is fair to say, like, I don't mind it when Westerners are skeptical of using Russia today as, like, a source. Like, I'm fine with that. You guys know my position. It's all propaganda, right? Everybody's got their position. But my position on that is that it's stupid not to listen to all the positions and to simply go like, oh, that's propaganda. Well, that's a dumb thing to do. You should listen to the Chinese propaganda, the Indian propaganda, the Russian propaganda, the European propaganda, the American propaganda, the Canadian propaganda, the Mexican propaganda. You should listen to everybody's propaganda with the understanding that the truth probably rests somewhere in the middle of all that, right? That like, and you shouldn't just ad hoc dismiss anybody until they've proven themselves to be dismissible, like the CIA, right? Like you never should pay any attention to the CIA outside of what are the psychopaths saying, right? Like, well, let's listen to what the Nazis have to say. There you go, that's the CIA, and then you can listen to what everybody else has to say. But like, so when they say like, oh, they're Russian propagandists, I'm like, okay, so what? Like, that's more or less my position. It's like, so, like, just because, that doesn't mean anything, right? That doesn't mean anything at all. Like, it's just such a dim-witted way to try to dismiss the point. To just be like, oh, they're propagandists, so we don't need to listen to them. Well, fucking everybody is. And all they're doing is revealing to you that they dim-wittedly think that their news or their sources are not propaganda. That's what they're saying. That they're too stupid to understand that what they're listening to on their side is also propaganda. Right? It's just more of this worship of stupidity. We're a very stupid people, and stuff like that is so fucking stupid that it's unbelievable to me that people say this shit out loud. But people say all kinds of dumb shit out loud. I literally had a guy, I was like playing a video game, and I was like talking to a guy, and the guy straight up said that African nations were better off for being colonized. Like, this is how fucking stupid we are. That we're like, yeah, they're better off because we went in there and cut off people's hands and destroyed their industry and enslaved their people. They're better off for it. Like, we're a lost people. We deserve everything that we're fucking gonna get. Eric says, your critique about conservative and Democrat, I actually got into a debate with a conservative, and he actually denied that the tobacco industry lied about cigarettes. Yeah, just stupid. Like, the tobacco industry, like, straight up has admitted it. They lost in a court of law. Like, we are dealing with a fundamental, like, it's beyond the idea that our culture is stupid. It's beyond that now. That what we are looking at is a worship of stupidity. That we are pleased with how stupid we are. We're happy about how stupid we are. And we look at, like, you can see it in any comment section anywhere that talks about, like, China or Russia or India or anything, right? You go into any comment section and what you're going to see is a group of people who are so happy that they are stupid. And if you stand up and point out even the most banal, most obvious truth, the most obvious thing that is right in front of your face, you're going to get downvoted into oblivion. Because we want to be stupid. We're happy with how stupid we are. We love being stupid. And if you stand up and say, maybe we shouldn't be stupid, well, you're going to get downvoted for just saying maybe we should know things. Right? Maybe we should use intelligence for a moment. Maybe we should use our brains for a second. Even that statement is going to get you absolutely destroyed in this environment, in this culture. Because it doesn't matter how much evidence you have. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, we're dedicated to moronic principles like manifest destiny. We're dedicated to moronic principles like the end of history, like these sort of absolutely obviously stupid things that we're dead committed to. And the only way that we can maintain them is by just being idiots, by just being stupid. And we're pleased as punch about it. We're super pleased of punch about it. We love how stupid we are. We're happy about it. It's why we keep acting like idiots on the world stage. It's why we keep acting like morons, because we just keep going forward with this idea like, we're the greatest! We're so the greatest! Why are people not thinking that we're so great? We went into the Middle East and murdered a bunch of people to spread liberal democracy, and people are mad about it. Yeah, they're mad about it because they hate us for our freedoms. That's what it is. Like, it's just this stupid, dumb, idiot position that we seem to love. We just love it. Yeah. What are you saying here, Cotton? With progressive activist judges, I feel like I'm getting the second half of a comment here, bud. Instead, they're managing a Yahtzee project in Eastern Europe. Yeah, exactly. And even use the argument that those who live until they're 100, even Who gives a fuck about any of this? It's just literally like brain dead. Jade, if only we drastically changed our charter to destroy most of these BS bills in one fell swoop and got real for once. Yeah. I dare to dream. Yeah. CR Strifey. Crumpet is probably more incriminating. Yeah, I agree. Tea is pretty ubiquitous across the world, but crumpet, that's pretty fucking British right there. Jade, just in time for fake spring. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, man. You gotta get with the times. Sarah, man, I don't even know how to respond to this. Like, I hope it works out for you, man. I feel like I don't mean to be rude to you, but like I feel like I just stepped into an episode of Jerry Springer with this. Like, God, do your best. God damn it, do your best. Gritting guys, we're at a point that criticizing capitalism in public is a revolutionary act. Well, I mean, I feel like I've got this right here, right? For those of you who are watching on TikTok, right, I got a little thing here. Everyone should have food, water, and health care, and this gets you labeled as a radical leftist. Like, this is what's going on. That if you stand up and take the most banal, regular, normal position in like, everyone should have food, water, and health care. Like, if you don't believe that, then there's something wrong with your brain. Like, we can say that pretty straightforwardly. If you do not believe that everyone should have access to food, water, and healthcare, there's something wrong with you. But in this society, if you stand up and say that, you're labeled a radical leftist. Like, a big reason why I started to call myself a communist is because people started calling me a communist, because I was just asking questions like, why are people homeless? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And in this society, if you ask a simple question like that, then you're a communist. Like, we're so pathetic. Like, we're so weak. We're so weak as a people that we can't even imagine taking care of other people at all. And we have this idea in our mind that, oh yeah, the problem isn't psychopaths who are trying to destroy the planet and the society for their own benefit. The problem is the mechanism by which we organize ourselves. That's the problem. Jade says, watch most of the talk today. Pathetic shills like GW can't hold back smirking as they say words that mean nothing. Yeah, I don't believe in violence, but they sure make it hard. Yeah, we should just nationalize them. We should just nationalize them. I don't know why we're fucking around with this. Like, this is why it's dangerous to chase actual leftists out of the conversation. Because if you chase leftists out of the actual conversation, then psychopaths like Weston get to act how they want. And nobody's standing up saying, hey, why do these guys own this? Like, why is this a privately owned or privately held thing? Why is our food supply being privatized? Why is it being commodified and used as a private way to make money? No, we should nationalize this, and we should get rid of guys like Galen Weston. Like, he should... The idea that we should even consider his opinion as serious. Like, this guy should have as much power as anybody else, which is that he should have a vote, right? Just like everybody else. But he owns the food supply. Like, what the fuck's... Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? That he should be gone, that we should have a crown corporation, that with the intention of moving towards worker ownership. That's what we should be doing. But for some reason, Weston gets to show up in front of our in front of a congressional thing, and we're all like, Mr. Weston, oh yes, great and powerful Mr. Weston, yes, as if that's serious at all. But we're a profoundly unserious people, so big fucking surprise. Worrying about what propaganda is basically thought terminating at this point. Yeah, like that's basically more or less the truth of it. Like, and again, like, it's all propaganda. Like, everybody's got a bias, and as long as you know what that bias is, and then you can listen to what they say, and if they're verifying what they're saying, like if they're providing like photographic evidence, if they're providing evidence for what they're saying, then you can be like, oh shit, that's a thing that's actually happening. Like, you can't really call it propaganda if they've got a video of Nazis running down the street, right? Doing Nazi salutes and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, that looks legit. Like, just absolutely fucking brain dead shit. Eric says, but the thing about RT, many journalists are going there because they have more journalistic freedom than any other Western media outlet. I have seen people who dismissed Abby Martin, because she worked at RT. Yeah, even, which is, you got to be dim-witted. Like, Abby Martin's Gaza Fights for Freedom is like a masterpiece. That if you don't know Abby Martin's Gaza Fights for Freedom, like, your next thing that you should definitely watch is, and I actually consider that work, Gaza Fights for Freedom, to be a big reason why there's been a pivot. That if you go back to the 90s, people were like, Israel is right, and sure, maybe a two-state solution, but both sides are in this conflict. And then now, like, you have very serious and credible voices being like, and the populace itself has turned against Israel on this issue pretty strongly. That we all acknowledge that what's going on in Israel is worse than an apartheid. Like, I call it an apartheid as shorthand, but I tend to agree with Chomsky on this, that he never called it an apartheid because it's worse than an apartheid, right? It's an ethnic cleansing, and that's what it is. And we're funding it. Like, we love it. We love it. We're super over the moon about it. Yeah. Violence is a very valid tool for emancipation. Yeah, Franz Fanon. They'll call anyone who tells the truth a Russian propagandist, even if they don't work at RT. Yeah, I mean, I get called a Russian propagandist. That's the truth. What game was I playing? Heroes of the Storm. I play it too much. I play Heroes of the Storm. Yeah. Yep. I admit it. Jay Pringle, good to see you, bud. Really like your channel. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You've changed my view, piqued my interest in communism. Love your ideas / dialogue. Thank you, sir. I'm being a little bit bullish today. I admit it. I'm just out of patience. Like, I'm just out of patience. I'm like, we got to be smarter than this. Like, we got to be smarter than this. Like, we're just so gulled and so pathetic and just so incapable as a people. Like, we've got to be smarter than this. That like, places like China is gonna blow us away. Like I've got where's this I found that oh come on John, I found this great video. Did I just put it on the Discord and then delete the thing? But it's China's putting up solar panel fields using solar panels in its hills. I want to show this. Fuck it. The Bank of Canada today said inflation, but like if we're not even trying, like that's the thing that I think is the craziest part about this, is that like for all of the people who are just like, oh, communism is wrong, yeah, well, the communists are trying. Like the people who call themselves communists and the societies that call themselves socialists are making an attempt. And I would rather live in a society that was trying and failing than one that wasn't trying at all. And that's us. We're not even trying. And it's getting embarrassing. No, I shouldn't say getting embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. Like, we're so fucking pathetic and worthless and bereft of ideas, because all ideas need to go through this little tiny pinhole of, does one billionaire think it's a good idea? Does Elon Musk think it's a good idea? And if Elon Musk goes, well, that doesn't make me personally money, so no, then that's it. It's over. The conversation ends. And it's so fucking stupid. It's a stupid way to organize a society, and we love it. We love how stupid we are. So, Matthias, good to see you, Matthias. Bank of Canada said today inflation is cooling, went from 8.9 to 5.4. Just got back from the grocery store, gas station. Everything's still super expensive. Hasn't gone down a cent. Yeah, never will. I don't know, like, look, why would we ever believe these people? They're obviously fraudulent liars. Like, they're obviously in cahoots with one another. Like, it's so fucking embarrassing. If we go to war, the West is done for. There's nothing holding our social fabric together. Yeah. No, it's true. You can't build a society on war. Yeah, there are mass shootings in the States every day. There's so much crime here now, too. And I'm reading reports now talking about the education system. Like, the education system in the United States is in shambles. Like, total shambles. Like, when I talk about how we love and worship stupidity, like, we love and, like, down to, like, we are not teaching our children how to read. Like, that, down to that kind of a level. Like, things are getting really, 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 really fucking bad. So bad that it's going to take us generations, like decades, to catch up, to get to a point where we can even stabilize, to build up, to get to anything meaningful. Like, we are going to get blown away by the shit that starts to come out of China. And what we're going to do, it's pretty obvious, because we're out of ideas. We're obviously panicking because our stupid, moronic idea of let chaos reign has backfired on us so badly. We've re-erected a monarchy, people like Bill Gates and Musk and all this, and they've abandoned the society completely, right? All they're using their money for is to shore up their own personal wealth. Who could have seen that shit coming? Not us, of course. And we've erected an ideology, because we're so fundamentally stupid. We've erected an ideology of individualism. That this is this idea. The idea is that if everybody just pays attention to themselves, right, complete selfishness, self-interest entirely, then that will somehow erect a society that's worth living in. And it all comes down to the third pillar, right, the worship of money. Because that's how we measure success in this society, right? This is how we measure success, is just money. If you have money, you're the best, and if you don't, you're worthless. And it's no surprise whatsoever that the society is going to collapse over all of this. And inflation is just absolutely, like, inflation is the moment where it has become undeniable to anyone except those who are most dedicated to the death cult. That if you are completely dedicated to the death cult, you can still walk around pretending as though you can say, just get a better job, just work harder, right? So if you're like a psychopath like Kevin O'Leary, right? Like if you're Mr. fucking Wonderful walking around, you can bullshit everybody and pretend like it's a you problem, right? Because you're just part of the death cult. But if you're living in the world, i.e. 95% of the population, you recognize pretty quickly that inflation is the absolute smoking gun. And it's going to get worse. Like, it's going to ramp up. Like, these guys are psychopaths. Like, they don't give a fuck. And they're going to squeeze as much as they possibly can out of single mothers. Like, that, they're absolutely going to do this. Like, these are the same people who literally were, like, throwing children into coal mines and shit. And we're now getting... Oh, yeah, here's the video that I wanted to show of China. I had it right there. Like, this is what China's doing. Like, for those of you on TikTok watching away, like, we've got literally hills just full of solar panels, right? Nothing like this exists in the West. They're not even attempting to build things like this in the West. And anytime they do build stuff like this in the West, it ends up being a fucking grift. It ends up just being total bullshit. That they just put up things that look like solar panels and they're made of glass and they don't fucking do anything. Like, we're just such a backward ass people. Ugh. I can't talk about this too much because I'll get banned off TikTok, although it looks like I have already been banned off TikTok. Usually by now I have at least 200 viewers, so I feel like the shadow ban is real. Urban Chaos Girl, how you doing? Good to see you. Eric, she has a new video where she discussed the CIA involvement across the third world. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by this shadow ban. I know that Midwestern Marks had his channel banned again. That the people who own TikTok, like the people who are running TikTok, are literally NATO operatives. Like, what do you think is happening? Like, what do you think is going on? I think it's becoming obvious that I got to get off TikTok and start doing like a multicast. Places like Rumble, apparently, like that's where Russell Brand ended up. I've got to do a multicasting thing. It's going to cost me some money, but I think it's going to be worth it. I've just got to set it up and actually do it. Yes, apartheid implies the oppressed subjects are allowed to live. Yeah, exactly. Ethan Huntley, inflation is at 10% now. So many people are struggling. It's also opinions of Argentina pulling out of the 2016 Falklands Agreement. Also, opinions of Argentina pulling out of the 2016 Falklands Agreement. How do you think the UK will handle it? The way the UK always handles it, like just with violence and delusional denial. Like that's all the UK has ever done. Like literally has ever done. That they're not going to act rationally. They're just going to collapse inwardly. And Argentina pulling out of these sort of agreements just shows you more and more that South America is beginning to shed itself of the colonial period and is starting to actually build up its own internal forces. Like, right now what's going on in South America should be deeply, 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 deeply concerning to Westerners. The relationship that the West has had to South America is a history of slavery and genocide. That's how we have interacted with South America the entire fucking time. We're too stupid to understand that. We're too stupid to realize it. That's why people still, to this day, pretend as though what's going on in Venezuela is because of their own corruption and their own ability. It's like literally we've put heavy sanctions on these people. Like, these people are in a state of war. Like, that's the thing that we absolutely refuse to acknowledge about what's going on in Venezuela, that we've put these people into a state of war where they're fighting a war against America and the sanction regime of America, and then we have the audacity to turn around and pretend as, well, it's socialism that did that. That's socialism that did that. But that's not much different than when we were bombing the Middle East and we had Islamophobes and racists like Sam Harris talking about how Islam is an evil Nazi level ideology. Like literally you're judging a people based on how they're acting during a period of war that you're inflicting on them. Like, that's who we are. Like, we love it too. We just love we love acting that way. We love destroying other nations and then pretending that the way that they defend themselves against our aggression is the way that they should be judged, and that we have the right to judge them. Like, that's the best. We're just so fucking stupid. Cal, I heard in a lot of schools in the US now they don't even teach the kids to read. Yeah, I mean, like, part of the thing that's happened throughout the United States is that teachers have lost authority First of all, you're not getting good people in these roles to be teachers because you're not paying them, right? So and literally the people you're getting are having to work like second jobs, right? So even if you have like a well-meaning person, right, they're stretched thin, they're exhausted, they don't have the capability to actually be a teacher in the first place. And then on top of that, the parents no longer treat the teachers as if they have authority, right? So teachers can't actually tell kids what to do. Teachers have nothing they can do to kids, and so kids are doing what kids do, which is acting like fucking kids, and they're not doing their schoolwork, and they're not doing anything, and they don't give a shit, right? Because they're kids. Like I'm not trying to shit on the kids, by the way. I'm trying to, like, kids are kids, and that's how they are. Like if you want to teach them how to do stuff, it's a tough and difficult job, but you don't pay teachers anything. You don't make it valuable to actually have teachers in the first place, and so the whole thing's collapsing. And what is it going to collapse into? Well, you're going to have one sector of the quote-unquote educational system that is essentially babysitting. That's what it is. It's just a place for children to go so both of their parents can go work for capitalists, right? And you essentially have a teacher whose job is to basically sit there and watch these kids be kids, and maybe attempt to teach them anything, but like they're not going to learn anything because you got one teacher for like 50 kids. It's a fucking gong show from the beginning. They have no authority. They have no way to enforce anything. The administration doesn't give a shit about them, right? And it's all just so capitalists can make more money off their parents. And then all of these kids are latchkey kids on top of that because both their parents are doing what? Working full-time jobs so that they can actually pay the rent. Right? And there's literally, and so you've got one segment of the society, i.e. the vast majority of the society that's operating that way. Then you have another smaller segment of the society that goes to privatized schools. And because you have this two-tier kind of system, you end up with a sea of illiterate morons, right? And a ruling class, which is what you've got in America now. Like, I don't know why we use words like democracy or freedom or any of this shit to describe America. Like it's a feudal country, and that's how it's structured. That's what it looks like, and people are obviously pissed off by it. Urban chaos girl, we should definitely let chaos reign. I mean, it is already raining. What are you talking about? This is chaos. Like this is chaos. We're literally just letting rich cocksuckers do what they want. That's how the society is structured, and it's obviously failed. Like, it's obviously failed. At this point, to pretend like it hasn't failed, you've got to just have a nail in your head. Like, you literally just have to have your brain turned off. You are an NPC. You're not interested in thinking about what's going on around you. You're just waking up, going to your stupid job that you probably hate, having most of your surplus value stolen from you by people you despise or have never met in your life. And then you go home, jerk off, watch Netflix, fall asleep, wake up, do it again. And then on the weekend, you probably sleep in, so you waste most of the day, right? Wake up, maybe go do one thing that you want to do, right? Probably get drunk, because you're like most people in the world, or do drugs or whatever, right? And then stay up late, sleep in again, waste the next day, and then grumble and cry because you got to wake up on Monday and do it all fucking again. Like, this is pathetic. We're a pathetic people, and it's pathetic the way that we're deciding to live. That every other creature in the world is living a better life than we are. And the only defense that we actually have is like, well, you know, we live longer. It's like, I would rather live a shorter life as like a fucking beaver than this fucking bullshit. Like, this fucking unbelievable. And then people will be like, well, you could go out into the world. No, I can't, because everything's owned. You can't squat anywhere. They'll literally arrest you. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, we're so fucking stupid, and we love how stupid we are. We love how stupid we are. Broccoli cheddar rice. Well, perhaps when we get blown away, there'll be little choice but to accept more of the new Dom's power practices. That's not how we'll be. That's not what we're going to do. Like, that's not what we're going to do. We are going to experience an internal collapse. We're going to collapse into 100 years of humiliation. We're not going to look at China ascend on the world stage, do incredible things that are beyond our imagination, like build moon bases. Like, the things that China are going to achieve over a very, very, very short period of time are going to make us are going to make people who have are paying attention, which is like 0.2% of the population maybe, go like, oh fuck, like we could be like this. We could be building something. We could be creating something. We could be actually building a society that's worth living in. But the vast majority of us are literally just like, let's just go to the shopping mall. You guys want to go to Wendy's? Do you want to go to Wendy's? And as long as people can get their fucking dumb snacks, and as long as people can just like go around, they don't give a shit. Like, we don't give a shit at all. We're an illiterate, uneducated bunch of rubes who literally have kings. And we're talking about how we're the greatest country in the world, and the whole thing is just going to come apart at the very foundations, because we're not even attempting to create a unified country anymore. This empire will collapse. We will break apart. It's historically prevalent. Everything that you're looking at right in front of your face shows you that it's the case. And at no point is the ruling class going to go, wow, did you see what China's doing? Maybe we should do that too. No. We're going to go, wow, you see what China's doing? We should bomb them. We should hold them back. They can't be better than us. We're white people. We're the best. That's how we act. Like, we're a very unintelligent people. Eric, the problem is that conservatives keep pushing more and more into anti-science stuff. They think they're being critical of the mainstream media. Yeah, I mean, like, that's my like, we should be critical of the mainstream media. We should be, but all they've done is all conservatives do is take a look at quote-unquote liberal media and then deny that, and then double down on their conservative media. So the stupidest people in the discourse, right? Your Shapiros, your Petersons, these people. And genuinely just are like, yeah, you just need to grind set, just work harder, right? What you're going to end up with, like, anybody, I can't imagine, if you're 30 right now, actually believing in your heart that, like, yeah, we got a grind set, when you turn 40, you're going to wake up and go like, oh shit, I've been grind setting for 10 years and it's got me fucking nothing. Like, I know people who are at the very top of their field. Their wife is at the very top of their field, and they can't get a house. Like, they've done everything right. They did everything right. To criticize their life is to be a fucking dumbass. So to be the vast majority of people in this society. And the whole thing's a failure. Obviously a failure. And yet there are still people walking around being like, yeah, capitalism's the best. Eat a burger. Yeah, well, we're gonna definitely win wars. Burger. Content, that's the other thing. If the West goes to war, I literally see no reason to stand in the way of PLA tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Ave. I would literally step out of the way at this point. The West isn't even worth fighting for. Well, of course, that's another part of it, isn't it, Cotton? Right? The West isn't worth fighting for. Like, this is something that I think the ruling class of this society refuses to acknowledge, that we've got no buy-in. Like, there's no reason to have loyalty to these people. Like, what? For what? They're not even providing the basics. Like, they're not even providing the bare bones, absolute minimum anymore. They don't care if you're homeless in the streets. They don't care if you're poor and desperate. They don't care if you starve. They don't care at all. So if some kind of, like, collapse happened, or if some kind of gang showed up, and like, the proof's in the pudding. Like, the proof's in the pudding. Here's an article from Rolling Stone. Gang members hold positions at highest levels of LA Sheriff's Department, investigation reveals. And you know what people in the society are going to say to this kind of shit? Yes, so? Like, so what? So what if gang members hold position at the highest levels of the LA Sheriff's Department? Does that make them different somehow? Does that make them worse? No, the vast majority of people are going to be like, who gives a fuck? Oh, so they're gang member, okay. Like, our ruling class doesn't give a fuck about us at all. And so when push comes to shove, we're not going to defend any of this. Like, we're not gonna stand up and be like, we got to get rid of these gang members in the LA Sheriff's Department. Why? Does it matter? Like, does it fucking matter that there are literal gang members, right? For the former sheriff tolerated, if not rewarded, deputy gangs, according to the report. Like, does this change the way the police force operates? right? And we just don't give a fuck. And why should we? Like, why should we at all? And this is what is fundamentally going to collapse the society. Because there are going to be crisis moments that are going to call for unification. They're going to call for people to come together. And we're all just going to go, why? Like, fight for what? You? Why? And that's going to be the end of it. And there's just going to be moments where eventually we're just going to be like, why are we paying money to these people? Like, why are we paying these taxes? Like, and you're going to see, like, independence movements come up and where this is a new Boston Tea Party here in the state of California. Like, we're going to do this shit. And everything's a total fucking disaster. Literally, you've got, like, fucking gangs of Los Angeles taking over the LA Sheriff's Department. And we're just like, yeah, you know what, normal. Yeah, that's fine. Like, it's chaos. And gangs are going to take over places, dude. Like, they already are. They already are. I remember reading a report not that long ago. I forget what prison it was, but literally the prison, the guards were like, yeah, the gangs own the prison. Like, we don't go in there. We bring a gang member in and negotiate with the gang member, and the gang member goes and talks to the mafia boss that owns the prison. Like, this is what's happening in America. That the people themselves are just going to take over these places. They're going to look at local law enforcement and be like, you guys are stormtroopers, basically. Just little fascist Nazis, which they are, obviously. And the whole thing's going to fall apart. Because there's no sense of unity. There's no sense of internal trust. Because at no point are we actually interested in giving a shit about one another. Right? And it's at every single level in every single institution. I remember when I was growing up, like, people make fun of me because I have a degree in theater and I pursued the arts, and people shit on me for that. And now that I'm older, you know what I say? Yeah, you're fucking right I took that risk. You're fucking goddamn right I took that risk. You know why? Because my dad was literally hiring uneducated rubes who were able to work a job grinding crankshafts and get houses for it. And so I took a look at these guys who were working in my dad's shop, who had a grade 9 education, grinding crankshafts, and I thought to myself, well, I'll take this risk. I'll take this fucking risk. Why not? Because the worst thing that can happen to me, according to my eyes, according to what I grew up with, the worst thing that's going to happen to me is that I'm going to go work on the line grinding crankshafts or something, because if some uneducated rube with a grade 9 education can do it, then me with my university education is certainly going to be able to turn it around. But what did they do? They shipped the manufacturing jobs overseas and said, fuck you, get a job. That's what they've done to us. That they literally robbed us of what we already had built, which was our industrial base, and then have the gall and audacity to tell us to get jobs that they shipped overseas. These people are fucking psychopaths. And to pretend like anything else is going on is to be a baby. A fucking moronic little child. And I'm so fucking done with this shit. I'm done with listening to these fucking morons as literally their society is decaying to the point where sheriff's departments, judges, prisons are just being taken over. Because we refuse to put in the administrative power because that doesn't enrich Elon Musk. Like, fuck, we're stupid. Ugh. What Content is saying is what the majority of the working class people in the West will say when the death cult tries to force us into the army. Yeah, I swear to God, dude. They are going to try a draft at some point. They absolutely will. Like, if they try to fucking draft people, like, for fuck's sake, like, flee, run away, come to my place. I'll let you crash. Like, just fucking unbelievable that we live in such a shithole country. That pretends like it isn't. That's the best part. It's like the people who come in here with their cocks swinging out thinking that they actually got something interesting to say. Fucking unbelievable. Ugh. I know people would say that the PLA would kill me in a war, but I mean, and the West ain't trying to do that to us now. Yeah, like, they don't give a fuck about us. They don't give a fuck about us at all. It's every man for themselves. It's just all hands on deck. Like, your life is a crisis. That's what's happening. Your life is a crisis, and you're dealing with the constant crisis of what it means to live in this capitalist system that's in decay. That you're just supposed to take care of yourself, and they're telling that to you. They're not going to put in systems. They're not going to do anything. And what's the result? The result is a spreading poverty. The result is a collapsing environment. The result is a collapsing system. That the people you're refusing to teach to read today are supposed to become the leaders of tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's gonna come, and no one's gonna know what the fuck to do because they're too stupid to even know how to read. Like, Jesus. Ugh. Chunktown. Dude, I love your name, bro. Good strong first comment, too. You're absolutely correct. It's a corporate monarchy. It is absolutely a corporate monarchy. Like, the existence of Galen Weston alone. Like, the existence of Galen Weston. Literally just some asshole who was born to a psychopath. Just gets handed an empire for existing. Yeah, this is a normal society. We're normal, right? It's obviously a corporate monarchy. We're obviously their subjects. Grinning says, I always like to ask people why I can buy bananas for 50 cents a pound while tomatoes grown in the next state cost $1.50 per pound. Here's a hint. It's because of colonialism. Yeah, you can really reduce the price if you use make more money with one small trick. Slavery, right? Well, welcome to America, dude. Like, welcome to fucking America. Cigarettes and alcohol, the working class vices. Don't need to eat when you're hooked on nicotine. You won't revolt if you're too inebriated to stand up. I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to that kind of shit. Like, I don't give a shit if people get drunk or smoke cigarettes or whatever. Like, I understand that there's like it's called like a vice or whatever, but like, you're crushing people's lives. You're crushing people's lives and giving them no out. And what are people doing? They're drinking a lot of alcohol so they can like forget or at least not give a shit, so they can have a little giddy giggle for a moment, right? They're smoking cigarettes so that they can just like get a little buzz, right? Feel something, so they can fucking feel something. Like, I don't give a shit about that at all. Like, I honestly, like, I don't give a shit about that at all. Like, you do what you feel like you need to do, but like, if we actually gave a shit about that kind of stuff, we would be demanding, like, hey, how about we improve the society somewhat? Like, smoke your goddamn cigarettes, like, drink your alcohol, smoke your weed, I don't give a fuck. Do heroin, I don't give a shit. Do what you feel like you need to do, because you live in an abandoned state. And if what's going to get you from day one to the next is just some fucking high, great. Like, and nobody has the right to judge you for it. Nobody has the goddamn right to judge you for even 1 second. And the people who do judge you are usually the psychopaths who are paying off the CIA to get that shit in the first place. Like, Urban Chaos Girl, I'm a bit of an anarchist, sorry. Well, your name is literally Urban Chaos Girl, so I sort of assumed that was the case. Oh, you don't need to apologize. I know what you're talking about. I'm in a pissed off mood, if you haven't noticed. On the flip side, we would guarantee to get a revolution if bread and circuses stop flowing, which is definitely going to happen. Like, this is the part that's so fucking stupid about how America is acting. That we're going to go to war with China? Oh, okay. Who's going to make all our stuff? Where's all our stuff going to come from? Right? Like, you think that the disruptions are bad now. You just wait until China literally stops shipping us stuff. Like, we need to be fucking isolated. Like, we need to be isolated. We're going to be isolated. Like, the rest of the world is going to look at us and go, okay, America, like, time to step it back. Like, like, the entire rest of the world has understood that we're the Nazis on the world stage since World War II, at least. Like, we've been acting that way the entire time. But what's going on now, it's one thing to bully smaller nations. Larger nations have always bullied smaller nations. That it's something of a miracle if a nation doesn't act that way in the world, right? That if you're as big and powerful as the United States, there's sort of an expectation amongst the larger states that, yeah, you're going to go into smaller regions and you're going to take what you want, right? Take a look at Western history, like how we've always acted. It's no fucking different. But what America is doing now by saber rattling and starting conflict with nuclear superpowers is psychotic, like beyond psychotic. Like it's one thing to go to Iraq and blow it up, and the entire rest of the world can go, I probably shouldn't have done that, dude. That looks bad to me. We could probably critique you over that. Yeah, I don't know about that, bud. Right? I don't know about that. It's one thing to do that. It's another to start poking at Russia. It's another to start poking at China. Like, America has become, like, not only are they Nazis, they're unhinged Nazis. That's what I think is the difference. That if you're China or Russia, you just got to kind of accept that America is like this, right? You just got to kind of accept that America is just a warlike people, that they love blowing up smaller nations. They make obviously bad decisions constantly all the time because they're obviously psychotic. But now they're coming after you, like a major nuclear superpower. Like, these guys are unhinged lunatics. They've got to be isolated. And that's exactly what we're heading for. Like, the isolation that comes from the West is going to be fucking resounding. It's going to be absolutely staggering to watch. The West is filled with convicts the British Empire rejected. No, that's Australia. Thank you very much. I know you're joking, Rusty. Good to see you, buddy. Jade, imagine an Uber-type way of providing healthcare that is owned by private nonprofit and kills their for-profit plan. Jeffrey Epstein's customers are still in power yet and making movies and shit. City of Lies was a good movie about the LAPD. Yeah. They want us to not sleep or eat. Yeah, Cult 101, because they can't stand that we're not robots and that we haven't been able to replace us with robots yet. We are people to them, yeah? Because being people is inconvenient. Absolutely. Because it's all about the worship of money. Like, it's not about building a society that's worth living in. It's not about living in a society that's worth anything whatsoever. Good to see you, that guy. Oh, I love this. The classic, right? The gaming deck. Dissing capitalism while sitting on a chair you bought with capitalism. No, I bought it with my work, right? My work. And the chair that I'm sitting on was made by workers, right? What capitalism is the theft of our surplus value by losers who had nothing to do with it. And then you worship them. And same story, in front of a computer I bought from capitalism. Yeah, no, workers made that, right? Spewing the ideology that killed over 110 million people is the best. You're illiterate. You're just an illiterate loser who worships capitalists, who would happily throw you into a meat grinder. Like, this is the part that's so pathetic about your loser position, is that you're literally simping for people that would put a bullet in your brain if it meant they got a penny. Right? If it meant that they made even a penny off of your death, they would happily do it, and you're jerking them off in front of us, making an embarrassment of yourself, you pathetic fucking loser. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus fucking Christ, these goddamn losers. Get the fuck out of here, guy needs to open a textbook. Imagine being so fucking stupid. Go read the Communist Manifesto. Go read Das Kapital. Go read Adam Smith. Go read fucking anything, you illiterate simp. You fucking illiterate simp for capital. Just what a fucking loser these guys are. I can't believe that these people fucking exist. That they come in here jerking capitalists off while pretending like they have anything to do with it. Like, Elon Musk doesn't give a fuck about you. He literally would throw you off a fucking building if he could. Just Jesus fucking Christ. Like, Elon Musk mocking a disabled person he fired. Right? Here's a great story that we've got of your fucking capitalist simps that you love sucking cock for. Like, here's a guy who literally was shut off from Twitter. He works from home. He has muscular dystrophy. He had no way to contact Twitter because his computer was shut off, or his connection to Twitter was shut off. And so he just sent a tweet out saying, hey, I no longer can get access. Did I get fired and nobody told me? And Elon Musk just starts making fun of him. This guy with muscular dystrophy. And the end result is, because Elon Musk is such a fucking moron who you suck cock for, the end result of this is that this guy is suing Elon Musk for $100 million, and it looks like he's going to get it. Because now Elon Musk has like put out an apology and been like, oh, sorry, I misunderstood. But some of the statements that fucking Elon Musk has said about this, he's not gonna win this. Like, the people you simp for and worship for are illiterate fucking morons like you fucking dumbass. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm so over these fucking losers, dude. Like, these people are losers. Like, they've got a bunch of money that they get given for sacrificing their whole fucking life, and they think that fucking means something. Jesus fucking Christ. Every decision made now must be approved by the elite. How do we surround them? We take millions of people and literally go to their houses. That's what happens. Like, that is what it's going to take. Like, we are dealing with psychopaths. Like, they're not going to respond to us unless we make it so that they can't do anything. That's how it's going to be. And that's what it's going to come down to. Pittsburgh, dude, the reason why they got rid of the draft is because it's too unpopular. They could keep more public support for war with a poverty draft instead. Yeah, that's what they're trying. Do you think conscription would actually work in the current times? It would take prison time over being conscripted in the army. I mean, no, but look, you guys are talking about this as if the people who are in power are reasonable and have thoughts that are intelligent. Like, the people who are in power are panicked morons. They are illiterate, stupid idiots who don't know what they're doing. Like, this is what you need to understand about what's going on in today's American climate. That at the highest possible levels, the Congress, the Senate, the CEO class, the managerial class, the media class, the military class, at the highest possible level, it's full of totally moronic, illiterate, stupid redneck rubes who do not understand anything about anything. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to do. They have no ideas because all of their ideas need to go through a funnel of how does this make money for my owner or for me. And the decisions that they're making are shitty and bad because all of their thoughts are stupid and illiterate and dumb. So they're going to reach for eventually, out of their desperation and stupidity, well, we could just do a draft. We're gonna have to do a draft. And if you don't want to be drafted, then you're against America and you're a terrorist. We here in America have to fight for the values of America. And if you're not with us, then you're against us. And you're a traitor to America if you're not gonna lay down your time and your life like we did during World War II when we were fighting against the Nazis. And even though we're the Nazis, that doesn't matter. You gotta come fight for us. Like, they're gonna use all the same fucking rhetoric they always did. They're going to use the same tools, the same kind of shit, and it's going to blow the country apart, and they don't care because they're too stupid. Like, and the wealthiest people, your Musks and your Gates and all these guys, they're literally going to just leave. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, the country's blown up, okay. They don't care at all. They're not invested at all. They're just going to keep the land that they're stealing from us. They're going to, they take the wealth that they pilfer from our labor, and then they're turning around and buying up the country. They don't give a fuck if they don't care if the borders fall apart or whatever. Like, Gates is building like Gatesistan. He doesn't give a fuck. And they're going to blow the country apart, and they don't care that they're going to do it. Like, that's the long and short of it. They don't give a shit about something called America. Like, anytime they stand up and be like, oh, the founding fathers and our tradition, like, they're only saying that because they want you to fall for it. Like, we're dealing with stupid psychopaths. So they're going to make bad decisions because they're never going to reach, they don't care about what good decisions are. To them, blowing up the country if it makes me $1 is a good decision. Well, this fucking gaming duck guy jerks them off. Right? They got a bunch of people jerking them off, being like, yeah, Daddy, you're the best. You're the best, Daddy. We love you. Yeah. Oh, they're just jealous of you, Daddy. Right? So they don't give a fuck. They don't care at all. They got weird little cocksuckers. Like, so what do they give a shit? If they tried to draft us, they'd probably start lighting all their things on fire. Yeah. Like, that's what they'll buy, and they don't give a fuck. Galen Weston and Warren Jeffs are the same person, different family. I don't know how to respond to that. John, next time someone tries to make fun of me being in art school, I'll say something to the same effect of what you just said. Yeah, like these losers, right? The losers that run this place, right? These fucking boomer losers love to walk around talking about entrepreneurship. They love talking about risk takers. They love talking about all that kind of stuff, but they never took a fucking risk in their life. They were living in a society where if you took a risk and it failed, oh well, I just guess I'll go work in a factory. Right? I guess I'll just go across the street, shake a guy's hand, start working in a factory, and get enough money to support a whole family and a house. Like, that's literally the environment that they grew up in. And we all watched it and thought to ourselves, well, I might as well take a risk at this. Right? I might as well take a risk over here, because why not? Meanwhile, these guys are literally saying to us, like, yeah, take that risk. Off you go, take a risk. You know, no problem. Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Right? You take that risk and you just go work in a factory, and that's fine. You know, it's good, strong work. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And then they took all those jobs and shipped them overseas. So they fucked us over. They fucked us over completely. They basically told us to go out on a limb and then removed the safety net, is what they did. Like, these people are losers. And then we get turned around and told that, like, oh, you should be grateful. Fuck you. Yanis Varoufakis said that we live under a techno-feudalism and capitalism ended a long time ago. Yeah, that's right. I'm an enjoyer of drugs myself. I was speaking from experience. Yeah, Nemini, I feel you. I feel you, dude. I'm actually pleased with myself because I've been drinking less. That's something I'm pretty proud of myself. I shouldn't say I've stopped drinking. That would be false. But I'm drinking less. Like, during the pandemic, I was drinking basically every day. And then I had gotten it down to once a week. And now I think I'm down to about once a month. And even that's pretty light. Like, it used to be that when I was drinking once a week, I would drink like a bottle of wine. And then the last couple of times, it's just been like, you know, a glass. Right? Just a glass. And so I feel like it's fading out in my life and that it's happening. And a lot of that, I think, just has to do with recognizing that I didn't really need it anymore, that I was losing more than I was gaining, you know? Because when you're drinking, you're losing time. Like, that's what you're doing. And if you're in a position where you feel like you want to lose time, that's fine. But Jade, the rich are paying people to clean houses they don't live in while people die in the street. There's really no excuse with being okay with that. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Like, the fact that we have a position... the fact that we have empty houses with homeless people, basically tells you everything you need to know about our country. Like, we have empty houses, we have homeless people. There you go. We're a fallen people. We don't give a fuck about anything. We don't care about anything. We can't, and moreover, we can't solve the most basic of problems. And it's all just because we worship money. We think individualism's the bee's knees, and we're too stupid to recognize it. Cal says, I used to smoke, and I quit probably a year ago, but there's a day I don't think about doing it again. It's hard. That actually makes you feel better. But it's for the better I quit. Yeah, it's a cost-benefit analysis, man. That's what it is. Like, I don't judge people who do drugs. Like, I don't think I really ever... I shouldn't say I never did, but, like, I've just gotten to a place in my life. You know what the real tipping point for me was when I was in funeral services. I used to really have that attitude of like, well, you know, you're smoking, you're taking years off your life. Yeah, I worked in funeral services. I've seen what the end of life looks like for lots of people. You're not losing anything. Really. Like, you're not losing anything. If having a small shred of enjoyment today means that you lose like a year off the end of your life, or 5 years even off the end of your life, you're not really missing much, dude. Like, not really. Like, we have this, like, we romanticize it so much. We've created this, you see these articles, like, wow, a woman, she just turned 100 today, and she's, like, this shriveled woman living in a bed, right? Her life is literally, like, opening her eyes for a minute, and then, like, pissing in a bedpan, and, like, drinking a thing of water, and then falling asleep again. That's her whole fucking life. Like, you're not missing it. Smoke that fucking cigarette. Like, I'm not telling you to start smoking, Cal. That's not what I'm telling you. Because, like, you're obviously doing it for other reasons. But I'm just telling you, don't feel guilty about it. Like, accept that that was what was happening in your life. Accept that that's what you needed to get through it. except that you've given it up for good reasons for yourself. But we carry around a lot of shame and guilt in this society, and we shouldn't. Because the only reason we're shamed and guilted is so that worthless capitalists can make more money. That's what it's for. That they want you to feel guilty, they want you to feel ashamed, because then you can buy a product to solve your problems. Right? Feel bad about this thing? Here's this thing that you can buy to get rid of this thing that we're making you feel bad over. Like, fuck all of this. Pittsburgh, the entire rest of the world is going to have to put a dome over the U.S., like the one they put in Springfield in Simpsons movie. Yeah, we're just going to do it to ourselves. Like, all of the military expenditure and all of our military might and all of our militarism, like, it's going to turn inward. That, like, you see it with this Cop City shit. You see it happening. That we're not going to, like, it's going to be absolutely wild what goes on, guys. Like, we are going to see like a mercenary, I don't know what to call it. Like the military is going to fall into mercenary warfare. Like it's going to cease acting as a cohesive unit. That it's going to break apart itself. And you're going to see like the rise of mercenary groups. And you'll have like a mercenary group that takes over like an African nation because they want to be like a petty king that lives in this African nation. You're gonna see like piracy. Like a fucking United States destroyer is going to mutiny and they're going to take over the destroyer and they're going to become pirates living on the open sea. Like this kind of fucking crazed lunatic shit that you don't think is possible will fucking absolutely happen. Because we're entering a period of time where we refuse to take care of the basics. Like the absolute fundamentals of what makes a society a society. What makes a civilization a civilization? What makes a cohesive, organized people a cohesive, organized people? And we're starting to recognize and realize that war isn't good enough. And, well, I'm sorry, we're not starting to recognize and realize it, but we're seeing it, right? We're seeing it. You can't just say, war, and expect that to work. It's just not going to work. And everything is going to fray and fall apart. And it's going to be at the, like, for fuck's sake, like, it's going to be at the highest possible levels. Nazi already implies unhinged. Yeah. Good to see you, Major. Good to see you, bud. Bread Bunny, good to see you. Yeah, I don't have the bingo card open. I should have opened it. Yeah, did you see the report that came out in the U.S. wouldn't even last weeks in a conventional war because of ammo shortages? Yeah, they're not even taking care of the thing they're spending money on. I don't think that people really understand how fucked we are, right? That we're sitting there being like, America's got the greatest military in the world. You know what America's got? America's got a lot of money flowing into the hands of fucking, like, arms dealers. That's what it's got. It's taking billions of dollars, giving them to arms dealers, and the arms dealers are going, thanks. And we're going, can we get something for that? And they're going, you didn't ask for that. Like, we're not trading money. You understand? That we've got arms dealers bribing politicians to pass bills to give money to arms dealers. That's what's happening. It's not, we went out and bought a bunch of ammunition from these arms manufacturers. It's, we gave a bunch of money to arms manufacturers. For what? Because they told us to. Because they own us. Because they gave us $1 million. Because we're so cheap to buy. Because we're such fucking losers. Right? So you have Lockheed Martin and Raytheon with hundreds of billions of dollars bribing politicians for chump change for basically fucking nothing. And then turning around and being like, yeah, can you just write a bill where you just give us money? Like, there are reports that say that 70% of the arms we sent to Ukraine didn't make it to the front line. Like, it's a sham. It's a total fucking shit show. And you've got losers coming in here jerking them off. Like, just unfucking believable. My absolute favorite, man, is like, I listened to Joe Rogan thing, and Joe Rogan even said that dumb talking point. Oh, like, they complain while using an iPhone. It's like, yeah, workers made that, you dumb fucking idiot. Like the number one, like this is how fucking stupid we are. Do you understand how stupid we are? That the number one podcast in America is literally just some fucking dumb MMA thug, just some trash brain idiot who literally, he talks like this now, you know. I really care about the pyramids, and he has like these guests on, but he never has a fucking communist on. He never actually has a trans rights activist on. He never actually has anybody on who will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Workers made your fucking iPhone. The capitalists take the surplus value of the iPhone. They don't give a fuck about you. And if they could, they'd throw you into a ditch. Like, just... And this is supposed to be the voice of America. Like, this is how fucking stupid and dumb we are. That we're actually just like, yeah, Joe Rogan, the Fear Factor guy. That's a serious voice we should take seriously. Yep. Oh, Jesus Christ. And then the guy below him, Tucker. With all the talk about Iran and North Korea being rogue nuclear states, the greatest irony is that America is the ultimate irrational actor. Yeah, I mean, Iran and North Korea are not rogue nuclear states. They have treaties and alliances that they keep and they actually abide by. They have relationships that they actually care about. They actually negotiate, and then they say what they're going to do, and then they do the things they say they're going to do. Right? Like you want to talk about who's the rogue nation? Hey, didn't George W. Bush invade Iraq while literally saying, we're going to go in there with or without you? What's the definition of a rogue state? It's the very definition of a rogue state. And we're just like, yeah, it's normal. You know, it's a normal thing to do. Bread Bunny. Hey, also, hey, John. Hair looks good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sorry, stuff is rough right now. Honestly, dude, I feel like I'm just like... I feel like I've turned a corner. That I'm like... I'm no longer interested in these losers coming in here talking like fucking losers. Like, it's just fucking... Like, we've got to grow up. We got to grow up. If we're not going to stand up and actually say, hey, maybe people should have food and shelter, then we're fucking done. Like, we're fucking done. If we can't get that done, then we're not getting anything done. And our ruling class is so fucking stupid that we're just going to eat it. Like, I can't even begin to express the wall that we're going to hit. Like, we're going to hit a wall that is so fucking ridiculous. And what's going to happen is you're going to have the stupidest people in the room making a series of decisions very quickly that are going to be stupid. And they're going to reach for the dumbest possible solutions that are going to fail the minute they're tried. Like, we are heading for 100 years of humiliation, and there's no stopping it. Like, there's no stopping it. The only thing that we can do as a people now is gather en masse and surround these people's homes. And until we're actually doing that, like, I take a look at the protests that are going on in France. I take a look at the protests that are going on around the world, and I'm like, yeah, not good enough. You know why? Because it's not around their houses. Like, it's no longer good enough to show up in, like, the town square. It's no longer good enough to show up at, like, the halls of power. It's no longer good enough. Because these people are psychopaths. They do not give a fuck. If you brought 1 billion people to surround the White House, they would just go like, yawn, whatever, I don't care. You've got to go to their homes and make it impossible for them to leave their homes. That's the only way this is going to actually work. Some corporations do make a decent amount off their employees dying. Yeah, of course. I am seeing that conservatives are blaming wokeism for the recruitment failure. Yeah, they'll blame wokeism until the end of the day, right? Wokeism is the word that they're replacing with black. Like, they can't say black anymore, so they just say woke. That's how it is. Like, and as soon as you recognize that, you'll hear it. The woke crowd, the black crowd, right? Like, that's what they've done. And nobody's willing to actually stand up and call them out on it. And if you did call them out on it, they'd be like, whoa, blah, blah, and then they make a whole big thing about that. But that's all they're doing, is that they're just saying woke instead of black. That guy, I just took a giant dinner. Yeah. Tinker, good to see you, Tinker. Freeland's going to invest in more mining jobs because that's what Canada needs. More mining jobs, yeah. Like... It's jobs. That's the secret, right? Jobs. It's all jobs. You got to get a job. Go work a job. Yep. Go harvest some resource that'll probably be used to make some kind of bullshit technology that'll end up in a waste bin somewhere. That's my favorite part about the West. Like, the Chinese are building technologies that are going to last for, like, decades. We're building stuff that's obsolete in a year. Like, what do you think is going to happen here? The amount of waste that our society produces, the amount of bullshit that our society produces. Meanwhile, we're all supposed to be like, oh yeah, it's a good job. I just have to give away 20 years of my life. Like, for fuck's sake. Do you see how the UK, now they're turning away all refugees now? Yeah, it's a fascist state, not surprised. And refugees no longer have modern slavery protections. Yep. Bells are ringing for human traffickers right now. Yeah. That's what they want. Like, do you guys not understand that these are fascists? Like, do you not understand? Like, modern slavery is going to take hold. Like, in America, you've got the prison slavery system. You got a huge amount of states throughout the United States literally regressing child labor laws. Like, I had this right. I mean, you got many young Canadians think Canada is doomed. Yeah, let's not bullshit ourselves. Like, you've got the regression of child labor laws that are happening. Children as young as 9 are going to be able to work jobs soon. Like, Jade, Warren Jeffs wanted for his dad to die to abuse the system he was leader of and do whatever he wanted abusing people and pretended it was deemed by God. Yeah, it's always deemed by God, right? Like, you can destroy what you want because God said so. Yeah, oh, look, psychopaths are crazy. Who knew? The UK is just, well, it's falling apart just like the rest of the West. Yeah. I take THC oil every few days. I suspect you do, dude. Like empty houses on Earth that were made for us. Yeah. To be fair, my grandma's deceased husband lived like 90-something, smoked almost a pack a day. Yeah. Apparently old people agree the best way to live is to want to die. I mean, you all have to kind of get ready for it. It's the truth. Like, no reason for us to pretend like it's not going to happen. USA may invade Mexico. USA will invade Canada. 100% invade Canada. I mean, we'll see how that all shakes out. I suspect that like, I don't think so. Because, first of all, Canada is basically just a surrogate state. There's no reason to invade Canada. We give the United States everything it wants. Like, the United States can come and take whatever it wants from us, and we just go, excuse me, and that's it. Like, nothing serious is going to happen. Like, and the United States is getting everything it wants out of Mexico. Like, it doesn't give a shit that Mexico's collapsing into cartelism and all that kind of stuff. The CIA works with those guys. Like, who gives a fuck? I was told the free market was going to solve everything. Yeah, let chaos reign. That'll do it. All the while the populace dies to gun violence. They're cutting corners on weapons. Fun fact, we only produce 5K shell a month, and the ramp up that's going to take place in a few years is only going to be 15K a month. Meanwhile, Russia shells 220K a day. Yeah, more war. Yeah, labor theory of value. We are alienated from those who make our products. Santora, good to see you, bud. Jade says there's a connection allowing criminal traffic to help flow of money. There's a connection allowing criminal trafficking to help flow of money for capitalist elite. Tax-free resources come in, untraceable money out to criminals, trickles back to country that buys guns. Yeah. Capitalism only innovates in making more money. Why do I need to use an app to use a washing machine in my flat? Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's the thing that I think is so disgraceful about our society, right? Like, and it's every single aspect of life. Like, the fact that we have, like, dating apps is got to be the dumbest shit ever. Like, we've literally ruined something like people meeting locals. Like, we've inserted this worthless middlemanism, and now there's like straight up nobody doing just like a singles bar, right? Just like easy shit, because it makes more money to keep everybody alienated in their things staring at a goddamn screen. It's so fucking stupid. The same conservative I talk to argue that China is a dictatorship because they go after the capitalists. Yeah, they should go after the capitalists. Like, yeah, the profit of the earth is for all, Ecclesiastes 5:9. Ecclesiastes is my favorite book of the Bible. Cal, so that when you don't have extra money, you can't wash your clothes and you're extra desperate for work. Yeah, it's all about creating a desperate working class. That is what it's all about. Like, this absolute worship of money. This worship of our subservience. So that everybody ends up like this fucking duck loser that came in. Jerking off capitalists, being like, oh yeah, capitalists, I love it when they exploit me for my surplus labor. Like, they want us all to be dim-witted losers. That's what they want. They don't want people to actually know what's going on. They don't want people to actually look at people like Galen Weston and think he's a psychopath, because he is. Like, they don't want people to actually understand how bad they're getting fucked over. They don't want any of that. They want people to be stupid, incompetent losers who will just bend the knee the minute they're told. Like, they don't want people to actually storm their parliament. They don't want people to actually gather en masse. They don't want people to actually come together and be like, this is an illegitimate way to organize a society, because it is a fucking illegitimate way to organize a society. And we're going to get blown away. We're going to get blown away by countries like China. Like, we're going to get absolutely floored by these guys. And in like 20 years, these people are going to be like heads and shoulders well beyond us. And we're not even going to be able to challenge them militarily. So all we'll be able to do is look from our shithole nation at these people that are actually building a society and go, well, what the fuck's going on? And we're not even starting this process. We're not even beginning this process. Weaponizing wokeism is the most pathetic vitriol, useless waste of time. Yeah. I mean, it's not useless if you're a psychopath, right? Like, it's quite useful to engage in this culture war. Like, what happened, as far as I'm concerned, is that Occupy Wall Street happened, terrified the elites, terrified the ruling class, and they all got together and clearly made the decision that in order to distract the populace away from the issues that were raised during Occupy Wall Street, i.e. issues of class, right? The whole central theme of the Occupy movement was we are the 99%. It was very much a class-based moment that existed in the society. Well, what did they do? They weaponized the culture war, right? They created wokeism. All movies became about diversity. Everything became about a weaponization of race relations and sexual relations. That they weaponized all of these things to deflect away from the class war. That's 100% what they've done. And if you stand up and actually, and it's so insidious and disgusting, because now it's gotten to the point where if you stand up and say even this, if you stand up and even say out loud that that this is a weaponization, well, then you're called a bigot. And it's completely backfired, by the way. If you're actually a believer in the quote unquote wokeism, like if you're Team Diversity Squad, if you believe in the ideas of diversity, well, it's backfired entirely. And the reason why it's backfired entirely is not only domestically is the culture turning against the LGBT community, right? Not only is that happening, but internationally it's happening as well. Because it turns out that if all you do is paint your missiles with rainbows, then the cultures you bomb say, yeah, maybe it's not okay to be gay. So it's a complete and total fucking backfire across the board. And what are we left for over it? We're left with Donald Trump and DeSantis going on a crusade against trans people. We're left on a regression against Roe v. Wade. We're left with a regression against gay issues, and we're left with a culture that is literally thirsting for a turn to white supremacist fascism, which I keep saying over and over again. The number one movie in America within the next 10 years is going to be explicitly white supremacist. You watch it happen. Yeah, rip David Graeber. We miss you. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I miss David Graeber, dude. He was very prescient. He was very, very prescient. At least in the past, the U.S. had technological races with the USSR, like the space race. Now they would never put money into an actual program like NASA. Yeah, dude, like, this is what's so crazy. Like, China right now is leading in 37 of 44 industries, according to a new report. And America's response to that is basically, like, the goal of the media now is to just stay silent, is to just shut up, don't even talk about it, just ease us into this decline. That's what it's all about. Just ease us into a decline. We could have had a free market if government held Shark Tank type proposals of small business. Yep, but seriously, free markets as they are pollute everything on earth. Dead people ideas are just that, dead. Yeah, can you imagine something like Shark Tank if there was just like a government person there? Like, have your fucking worthless capitalists, but also have like a government official, right? Somebody comes in and like, yeah, we've got a filter that we think could be a more efficient way of cleaning water. Right? And then the worthless capitalists say the worthless shit that they say. And then the government official leans in and says, so this filter at half the price can clean water? Yeah, okay. You're talking to the government now. So how much do you want for that? Right? And then your capitalists will be like, well, I can't make 5% of an overture. And the government goes, yeah, we don't give a fuck about that. We're the government. What do you want? Like, imagine just a situation where a worthless capitalist is like, well, I'll offer you this because I can get 0.2% over this. And then the government guy leans in and goes, yeah. These guys are worthless. What do you want? And then the guy goes, well, what I want is this. And the government goes, fine, that's great. We can print money. Like, these guys are worthless. Like, that's the thing that I just, like, the reason why the death cult has done such a heavy attack on the very concept of governance itself, to convince gullible rubes that government is the problem, right, is because capitalists understand fundamentally that they can't compete against a government. That if a government literally stands up and goes, oh, wait, yeah, we should build a high-speed rail. Yeah, let's just do it. Then they can. And they will. And if the capitalists stand up and go, well, we would like to make money, a government can go, fuck off. But this is called authoritarianism, right? That if a government does things on behalf of its citizenry, even if the electorate wanted it to, oh, it's authoritarian and they need to use free market principles, because we're led by psychos. Ugh. I do not appreciate this conflagration of homo-nationalism with social progressivism. I do not accept the progressives demanded we treat people with dignity as at fault for anti-trans pogroms. No, look, there is 100% a co-option. 100%. And you're right to point this out, Compton. You're right to point this out. That what is happening is that you have well-meaning people who are fighting for the rights of people, and they should, but it's been co-opted. Like, that's what's being said. It's 100% co-opted. What, you think Disney is making The Little Mermaid black because it actually gives a fuck? Like, it's 100% doing this to control the discourse, to ensure that the narrative can never become a class-based narrative. And they don't give a fuck if reactionaries take power and draft this legislation and do that kind of stuff, because they fund those people. Like, they don't give a fuck. So it's all just a weaponization and a manipulation of the system and of the situation. That's what they're doing. And who are the losers? The trans community, the LGBTQ community itself. Like, that's what because the system is doing what it's always done. Like, It co-opted the green movement. It's done this. It does this over and over again, and it does the same thing over and over again. It commodifies it, it weaponizes it, and abandons it. We let them all leave on a Musk rocket and watch as it explodes because Tesla and we rejoice. Yeah, very nice. California is now going to build another high-speed rail from LA to Las Vegas. Elmo and company are angry. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Like, I don't believe it for a second. You know why I don't believe it for a second? Because this is an idea that's being proposed, and it's getting pushed through because the people of California, like small businesses and things like this in California, are going like, yeah, we should do this. We should have done this 20 years ago, right? And so what's actually going to happen? Worthless parasites like Elon and worthless parasites like Warren Buffett and all this are going to buy up all the land. They're going to buy up all the resources. They're going to buy up all the infrastructure. They're going to buy everything they can possibly get their hands on and jack the prices 10 times. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to kill the project before it starts. That even if California manages to actually move forward with this shit, it'll take them 50 years. What are you talking about? The fact that Disney is doing that is immaterial. Of course it matters. Disney's a cultural monopolist. Like, they literally make like 80% of the money in the cultural sector. Like, of course it matters that they're doing that shit. Like, it absolutely matters. Like, I appreciate your position. Like, I appreciate your position that we should defend trans people, that we should defend LGBTQ people. We should absolutely defend it. But what I am saying is that these things are being co-opted and weaponized against us. Like, that's what's being said. Leon, good to see you, bud. Good to see you. And they're being weaponized for a reason. And that reason is so that we never actually talk about class issues. That's the reason. Like, I remember when I was growing up, there were movies that were explicit, like a bug, Ants or A Bug's Life or whatever the fuck. Like, you had episodes of Simpsons that were explicitly pro-union. You had cultural touchstones that were explicitly class-based, that were coming into the discourse, and all of that is gone. Like, all of that is gone. That we can't have a class discussion anymore. Because the capitalists understand that it's dangerous for them. But they have to have a discussion about something. Yeah, the capitalist class has taken the LGBT community and weaponized it as a way to divide people and grind conversation into the earth. Yeah, that's 100% what it is. And it's despicable. Like, it's despicable. Because what it does is it takes an issue that's actually important, like the green agenda, like they did with the environmental movement, right? Painted everything green, said they gave a shit, so it shut off a bunch of people's brains, myself included, by the way, right? Convinced us all that, oh, these guys actually give a shit. And they don't. They're just trying to sell products. And it's all being done so that we'll never actually have the discussions that actually fucking matter. No, I shouldn't say that. That's a bad way of saying it. Because that discussion does matter. Gay people and trans people have the right to live their lives how they want. By the way, somebody who's trying to talk to me on TikTok, you come over to YouTube, okay, if you want to actually talk to me. I talk to a lot of Nazis, and I don't like platforming them, and I don't like talking to them. You come over to YouTube if you want to ask a question. Like, this is what makes this conversation so difficult, is that we should be supporting trans people. We should be supporting gay people and LGBTQ and minorities. We should. We should. I love it, man. Somebody made the journey. Somebody took the time, as if, who care, took the journey I can't, dude, it's nuclear, not nuclear. You're a smart guy, and it makes you sound ignorant when you say that. No offense. Dude, you took the time, eh? Who gives a fuck at all? Like, who gives two fucks? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. This is what makes this conversation so difficult. Because we absolutely should be supporting minority groups, trans people, gay people, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Like, everybody should live the life that they should be having. The fact that there's legislation being drawn up, the fact that there's any of this stuff that's happening, is despicable. No doubt. Like, no doubt whatsoever. But we can't pretend as though the cultural forces that are putting forward messages of diversity are doing so in good faith. Because they're not. Like, they're just fucking not. Like, and it's a losing game. And it's one that we're falling back behind on. Because we're ceding this territory to fucking losers like Disney, who are not doing us any favors and aren't actually helping the situation. And the culture is obviously experiencing a fairly massive blowback on this. And the blowback is empowering far-right radicals. And it's empowering people. It's empowering the reactionaries. Because the reactionaries are standing up and they're saying things, and it's making the quote-unquote moderate centrists go, oh, that's a good point. Because at the end of the day, our cultural owners and the people who spew bullshit into our culture, Disney, they're not doing what they're doing because they're trying to put forward a political agenda. They're doing what they're doing because they think it'll make them money. It lets them create shitty products that if you critique them for being shitty, they can just say you're a fucking bigot. And it's a difficult situation because I ostensibly agree with the core basic idea that it is okay to be gay and people should be able to be trans. People should dress how they want and identify how they want. A person should fundamentally be able to identify how they feel they should be identified as. That all of that is absolutely true. But at the same time, I cannot deny the weaponization of this by the capitalist class against us. And I cannot deny that we used to have a conversation in this culture about class. You could see it in television. You could see it in the streets. You could see it in the society, and it's gone. And it's been replaced with what? It's fucking annoying. Like, it's fucking annoying. Because that's what capitalism is. It's fucking annoying. That it takes our best intentions and turns them against us. That's what it's always done, and it will continue to do. Do you have a woman that really inspires you for International Women's Day? Yes, I actually do. And of course, to embarrass myself, I'm blanking on her name. That's so fucking annoying. There are lots of good, strong socialist women, man, who have been writing amazing things. Fan-fucking-tastic. Like, what perfect timing to draw a fucking blank all of a sudden. Like, Tubman is obviously one. The Rosa Parks is obviously one. Emma is obviously one. Like, the Rosa Luxemburg is obviously one. The the Russian woman who killed 300 Nazis is pretty obviously one. I had another conservative Oh, Abby Martin. Yeah, Abby Martin, absolutely. Abby Martin's the GOAT. Like, absolutely. Of what a white worker ought to be. It's not complicated. If one can see class, they can see colonialism. I'm done extending the benefit of innocence. If you're white, you don't have to fight for whiteness. I don't think I would say AOC, Michael Hammer. I don't really trust AOC. I think AOC is primarily a careerist. I don't really think that I don't really take her very seriously. Like, I think she knows what her brand is. No, this is true. Like, you don't have to fight for whiteness. It's true. The DeSantis Disney thing, I was hoping we were underestimating Florida being so embarrassing, but they proved us wrong. Yeah. No, man. Like, I will say it again and again and again, and it's absolutely coming, that we are going to see like a high-level, Marvel-funded level film. Like, I don't know if it'll come out of Marvel or Disney or any of these guys, but like, we are going to see a major movie that is going to make a shit ton of money where the protagonist is a fascist. Like, it's coming down the pipe. Like, there will be a capitalist that is going to look at these mega guys and at Trump and at all of these guys and be like, oh, we should make the hero that these guys think that they are. Lion King already exists. Yeah, like you're seeing iterations of it, right? Like, yeah, Lion King is a funny one to bring up, but like Red Skull, the backstory, Top Gun, yeah, the newest Top Gun movie is absolutely a swing at this, but I think what I'm really hitting, like the analogy I always give, the Hunger Games, but the Hunger Games was always a struggle against it. Like, I'm talking about something where, like, the good guy is a fascist. Where, like, the analogy that I always say is, like, it'll be like we're watching The Boys, right? We're going to watch The Boys, except instead of understanding that Homelander is a psychopath that we should be afraid of and who is obviously a villain, we're going to be like, Homelander's the good guy. It's going to be like that. We're going to be presented with a script. And ideologically, like, I mean, Tony Stark is pretty close. Like, that's the thing that's, like, pretty telling. Like, Tony Stark is a fucking arms dealer who owns, like, a private military force, who goes around basically doing what he wants, fucking up whatever he wants and shooting whoever he wants. It's all justified because the justification of the film is that, there's some evil alien force that's going to come and destroy us, right? With like no explanation or whatever. It's just as banal as it can possibly be. Just like aliens came, so that makes it make sense that Iron Man exists. And there's just no and the only time in the entire Marvel discourse that there's even a discussion about should this guy exist is, well, he should definitely exist, but there should be some kind of government oversight. Like, that's the whole Civil War pitch. And at no point is anybody standing up being like, why do we have a private citizen in fucking battle armor going around doing what he wants? What are you talking about? So the whole thing is just this worship of power, right? It's just a power worship fantasy. And it's such a fucking wank. We already have that with a good chunk of the anime community that likes things like a lot, which the main character is a child soldier turned war criminal, yeah. It'll be a movie about forgiving Hitler, maybe, or what if Hitler had won. Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street is actually a really good example of this. Not so much in terms of the creation of the film, because I always felt that Wolf of Wall Street was made as like a cautionary tale, or as, not a cautionary tale, but like as a... Like, the character was never exonerated, you know? Like, the character was never presented to us as if he was a good guy. He was always presented to us as if he was something of a skeezy scumbag who was going about. But the reaction of the culture to Wolf of Wall Street is very telling. that the main character of that film has become like iconic, and that lots of people on Wall Street look up to that guy, and look up to not only the character that Leonardo DiCaprio played, but also the real life version of that character. So, yeah, Musk wants to be Stark. Of course he does. For fuck's sake, they let him into the Marvel movies. Like, I literally gave up on Star Trek when they said Elon Musk. They had like a list of people who were like inventors or like intelligent people, and Elon Musk made the list, and I was like, fuck you, Star Trek, you're done. Like, you're obviously just bullshit now. Like, it breaks my heart to say it, because Star Trek used to actually be good. Like, it used to actually be, like, the whole pitch of Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation was that society evolves past capitalism, that it becomes like a socialist or communistic type society that cares about things like diplomacy, that cares about things. It evolves past this current state. And all modern Star Trek is basically just capitalist apologencia. And just everything they present is to justify this argument of, well, this is just human nature. That's just human nature. That's just how humans are going to be. So that's what they're going to do. Whereas Next Generation was like taking serious issues, modern issues, and presenting them in a science fiction kind of way, and then defending the position from a communist or socialist position. I didn't realize when I was a kid, when I was watching it, how radical that show actually was. And it's pretty telling that you can't get that show on television anymore. There's just no such thing as a show like that anymore, where serious issues are legitimately discussed, like mature adults. Like, all of the remakes, like the Star Trek remakes, were embarrassing. None of those people would actually be on a starship, let alone running the show on a starship. They were just children running around acting like babies. And like, there was no mature conversation. There was no legitimate debate. There was nothing that was going on. It was insulting. They literally took keys and dangled them in front of us and said, "Are you entertained?" Like, fuck you. Jay Cook, good to see you, bud. Hope you're here to participate in a strong way, dude. Should the UN demote the U.S. to a developing democracy? Yeah, the UN can't do that. Like, the U.S. has veto power. That's a funny comment, though, dude. But, like, the UN could never get something like that through. Even if the entire rest of the world went along with it, the U.S. would just be like, veto. Ethan, I hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Enjoyed the stream today. Keep up the good gravy, man. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate it, bud. Like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff. Hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. Right? Let me take a look. What are you guys doing? I got 20 viewers right now, only 16 likes. Come on. Come on, how many views do I have right now? 68 views, 16 likes. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. It's free to do. It's easy to do. Just hit the fucking button. Trumpers, woke Star Trek sucks. They need to go back to the old days. Star Trek was very progressive. Yes, it was. My favorite thing to say about Star Trek is that it was funded largely by Lucille Ball. So Lucille Ball, an actual baller. Elon Musk was someone I obviously thought was talentless and useless. I never understood people believing otherwise. Still don't really. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but it tells you, it shows you how easily people are, how susceptible we are to propaganda, and how easy it is to buy narratives, right? It took like decades for people to get to this point, and like I think the Twitter scandal is a big case. It took like decades for people to realize that Elon Musk is straight up, like, he's a total fraud. Like, his university degree is fraudulent. He's invented nothing in his life. He just buys shit, right? And even now, you still have like a contingent of people who are just like Elon Musk stans. Christopher, good to see you, bud. John, can we do a Lynch number draw? Lynch no longer does those draws, Christopher. He stopped doing them. So, Finally decided to retire it. So, no, we can't. Maybe I should actually just do it, you know? Just get like a thing and do it myself. Just do an arts and crafts thing one day. Tinker. It has to do with the corporate media pushing people like him. Like they give the Orange Blob $5 billion of free publicity in 2016. Yeah, it's a good thought actually, Christopher. It wouldn't be difficult to do. Just need some ping pong balls, right? It was fun to do that. Just do it myself. How could anyone ever look at the Cybertruck and not see it as the invention of an absolute idiot? Yeah. Well, what he did in California, to me, is completely unforgivable. That, like, he literally stood in the way... he literally stood in the way of the advancement of high-speed rail. Put the state 20 years behind. Like, just unforgivable in my view. Like, the guy is obviously an idiot. And it just shows you, like, we're a society of grifters. We love it. Like, it ties right into, like, we love being stupid. We love being duped. It's like we live in a society where, like, societies can get captured by a type of artist, right? Like, you have moments in human civilization where mimes, the whole thing is about clowns, and everybody's like, clowns are the best, right? Like, you take a look at somebody like the Stooges, straight up just like clowns, and they're the height of American society for a while. You got Charlie Chaplin, right? Like, you've got these silent movie stars, and they take over the culture. We all become fascinated by them, and they all become part of it, right? You have and societies can be taken over by painters, opera singers, right? Like, suddenly the society can be really focused on something that is interesting. And I really do think that the thing that we are fascinated by right now is grifters. We love them. We absolutely love them. Even if you know that they're a grifter, you're still taken in by them. And it's like a magician, right? You know the magician is lying to you. You know the magician is telling you bullshit. You know that it's totally fucking, it's a trick. But then when he does it, you still go like, whoa, right? And like, you got some magicians where people are like, David Blaine, he's a mind freak. He's really a magician. Oh my God, he's floating. Oh my God, right? And it's the same kind of thing where we know that they're full of shit. We know that they're pulling a scam. The scam is obvious. You can see what the scam is. They had $1 billion. They paid a bunch of media sources in order to pump them up as like this super hyper genius, when all they were doing was just buying up a bunch of properties. They're a capitalist at the top of the thing. They act like they're this super smart person when in reality they're just a dunder. If you want to see straight through Elon Musk, like straight through him, load up his conversation with Joe Rogan. And just get over Joe Rogan jerking him off the whole time, right? Because the entire time Joe Rogan's just like, yeah, Elon, thanks for being here, Elon. Oh my God, that's a good point, Elon. I never thought about it that way, Elon. Just get over that and listen to what Elon Musk says, and you realize pretty fast that he's a dumb idiot. That the shit that comes out of Elon Musk's mouth is if Musk had just been one of Rogan's comedian friends, it would have turned into just like them like fucking shitting on each other and just being dumb morons, right? But because it's Elon Musk, super genius. Oh my God, did you hear what he said? Oh my God, man, this would make someone, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. And the reason why you didn't think about it that way is because you're not that stupid. Abortion bans need to repopulate the working class and maintain poverty? That is a theory, right? That is one of the theories about why they are doing abortion bans. Because what segment of the population is going to be most heavily affected by abortion bans? It's going to be the black population largely. And what segment of the population is largely being enslaved in the prison industrial complex? That would be the black population. So you need a poor underclass if you're going to maintain a system of capitalism. He's back in California. Tesla bought their design HQ back. The underground tunnel versus high-speed rail. Yeah, it's grifter. Well, like, who was that one? There's this really, I actually really, was it Elizabeth Banks? Elizabeth Holmes. They knew what I was looking for. This woman is one of the greatest grifters in American history. Absolutely one of the great American grifters. What she did was that she convinced everyone that she had technology that could take a blood sample and then give you a blood sample reading in on the spot. That was the whole pitch. You get a blood sample reading, and on the spot it would deliver a reading of what was in there. It's like a revolutionary technology, like really. And so people were very excited by it, and she was getting put forward as like the new Elon Musk, the next Tony Stark, right? Like she was being put forward on all of these. I wonder if I could find like some of the images and headlines that they used for her. Yeah, this is her Forbes, right? Elizabeth Holmes leads Theranos is the name of her company, right? This CEO is out for blood, right? Like, and she was like Forbes, she was 400 most influential people, like all of this kind of stuff. And it was all a total fucking grift from start to finish. She never had the technology. She wasn't even close. And I'm more or less of the opinion that the only reason she actually went to jail for any of this stuff is because she got too big. She got too many big names involved. Like Henry Kissinger got involved, right? You can't get Henry Kissinger involved. Like you can't do that, right? And downfall. Yeah, initiated a secret months-long investigation of Theranos. Theranos Edison's blood testing device seems suspicious. Like, no shit. She appeared on Mad Money the same evening the article was published. Jim Cramer says, the article's pretty brutal, to which Holmes responded, this is what happens when you work to change things. First they think you're crazy, then they fight you. Then all of a sudden you change the world. They sent a warning letter to Theranos. At its height, in 2015, Theranos had more than 800 employees. It dismissed 340 people in October, as an additional 155 in January. It filed a WARN Act notice with the state of California. Like, you don't get off scot-free for grifting the devil himself. Yeah, exactly. You can't get that. I remember when and what was so crazy to me, like what's so fucking crazy to me, is I remember watching like a CNN or CNBC or something, one of the letter places, and they were doing an expose on her. It was like a half-hour thing. I was fascinated by it because she's like one of the great American grifters. Like she started this, like think about this. In 2003, Holmes founded and was the chief executive officer of Theranos, and it didn't fall apart until 2015. 2018. She did this grift for 15 years. She grifted people. Like, she was able to live like a fucking billionaire at the top of the financial system as the CEO of a company. Like, she had a $9 billion valuation of the company. She was able to live that kind of life for 15 years based on a total fraud. So you think Elon Musk isn't running a grift of his own? And the big difference is that between her is that she didn't really have like a backing. Like she doesn't have $1 billion. She doesn't have emerald mines, right? Elon Musk has emerald mines. Like he can just fall back if the whole thing blows up and everybody recognizes, oh, this guy's a fraud. We should go after this guy. He'll just leave, go back to his emerald mines, and just die. Like that's the Elon Musk story. But Elizabeth Holmes doesn't have any fucking emerald mines, so she can't just fucking go off and die. Ugh. Hope you guys are doing well out there in TikTok land, man. I've definitely been shadow banned. Usually by now I've got like 5,000 likes. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Speaking of super genius, that black kid who graduated high school by age 9. Yeah, that happens all the time, honestly. Like, and it's, I do feel like the universe does occasionally just spit somebody out who's like a reincarnated version of somebody who just like they've already done this 3 or 4 times, and so they're just like, yeah, school. Let's just can we just like, this is school. Let's go. Yeah, math. Yep. Here it is. Can we move on? Right? I just think it does happen. Like, I'm not saying that I believe in reincarnation, but I am saying that if I died and somebody was there and I was like, is reincarnation real? And they were like, oh yeah. I'd be like, oh, okay, great. I wouldn't be like, what? Reincarnation is real? I definitely would be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. She reminds me of Dr. Death, Steve Williams, taking one class and thinking she knows more than experts and letting people suffer because of hubris. Like, I don't think she ever believed anything she said. I think that she was very aware that she was a grifter. Like, that's like, I do think that Elon Musk, in like some small part of himself, does believe that, like, he wants to be regarded as this super genius. He wants to be seen in the world. He wants to be loved by everybody, obviously. That's what he wants for himself. And I do believe that there is like a small part of Elon Musk that's just like, you know what? Maybe we can get to Mars, you know? Like, I'm probably not going to be alive to see it, but maybe we can, you know? And maybe this will be the basis by which future generations will move. I could see how he would create this mindset and get into that kind of thing. I believe it. Elizabeth Holmes, I never believed for a minute, thought that she was ever going to actually make this device. I think she was always a grifter, and that's all she ever was. And we love her for it. And oh yeah, I was saying, I remember watching this CNN thing or whatever, and the way that they were talking about her, they weren't talking about her as if it was like, can you believe what this woman did? Oh, what a terrible tale. Like, they all had like this little wry smile on their face when they were talking about her, and they were all like, so instead of it being like, can you believe what she did? It was like, can you believe what she did? Like, it was like they were like, yeah, we've got to put her in jail. Like, she's got to face consequences, obviously. But can you imagine? Wow. It's like how we love, like, serial killers or bank robbers, right? Like when we watch stuff about, like, thieves and mass murderers and shit, we're fascinated by these people. And we're always, like, watching them being like, man, can you imagine? Oh, man. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Speak of the devil, May 27th is Kissinger's birthday. If you don't kick the bucket before then, he'll turn 100. And the apocalypse will commence. Is that what's going to do it? If Henry Kissinger makes it to 100, that's the apocalypse? Actual con artists are dangerous sociopaths in real life. Yep. Absolutely. No, but we love them. Like, we absolutely are fascinated by sociopaths. We think that sociopaths are cool and keen. Like, there's so many examples of media that show that this is the case. Like Dexter, like, oh, he's a psychopathic murderer, but he kills the right people, right? We love it. Like Sherlock Holmes, the Benedict Cumberbatch version of Sherlock Holmes is literally, he says out loud that he's a high-functioning sociopath. And we're all like, oh, Sherlock, a high-functioning sociopath. Like, who's a really clear example of this? Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. The guy is a sociopath. And we're all just like, oh, Sheldon. Oh, I can't believe he said that. Can you believe the thing that Sheldon Cooper said on the Big Bang Theory? Like, and we're all just like kind of normalizing these sorts of people, these like absolutely obviously sociopathic, antisocial narcissists. We're all supposed to just think that they're adorable somehow, or that it's acceptable that this type of person just is oh, that's just how they are, you know? Like, they'd literally like stab you in the throat if it earned them a penny. Yeah, he is certainly a candidate for being the Antichrist. I don't think the Kissinger is the Antichrist. Like, he definitely he definitely is evil. Like I feel like, honestly, I think that Kissinger is just like a lesser demon. Like he himself is not the Antichrist. He's not evil enough, you know? Like I feel like like the actual Antichrist would be way less obvious. I think that's the key. That he would be like way less obvious. That if you want to get into the Christian lore, you know, like someone like Henry Kissinger, you're just like evil, yep, evil guy, super evil. Like you can see it right away. Like he walks into the room, he says like 4 lines, and you're just like, yep, evil, yeah, evil dickhead. Like the Antichrist would be more like he would come into the room and you'd be like, oh, what a nice chap, and he would say some things. You'd be like, that does make some sense, right? And it wouldn't be until like the dagger is twisting in your back that you would be like, this guy's the Antichrist. Like that's the way. When I think of the figure of the Antichrist within Christian lore, that's how I think of him. It won't be until the dagger is twisting in your back. And like the bomb is going off that you will recognize, oh, this guy was the Antichrist. Like that's what I think of when I think of that figure. Banker at Goldman Sachs. Like a good way of thinking about it would be like Bill Gates. That I'm not saying that Bill Gates is the Antichrist, but I am saying that his trajectory, the way that he operates, is closer to what I think of. That what's the problem? I created a computer company, you know, and I helped usher computers into the world, and then I created the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and now we've got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and what we're doing in the world is we're trying to spread medicine around and help poor people, and we're trying to get farming techniques and everything back in there, you know, that the world around us is a difficult place, and I feel like we were very fortunate. We made a lot of good decisions early on, made a lot of good money for everybody, and we built a fortune for ourselves, and we want to make sure that fortune gets used right for the next generation. So what we're doing is we're making sound investments and doing good charity work to help the people of the world as we move forward. That's kind of what I think, right? I don't see like big swaggering dick guy being like, yeah, wearing a big suit, right? Like I really do see a guy wearing like a sweater vest, kind of, you know, we're just here to help out, you know, right? That's more how I see it. Jade, neurodivergents are mistaken for sociopaths, and that's how they write characters, but in real life are accepting and genuinely kind and not sociopaths at all. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, eh? I find it to be very strange. Like, there's like this one note that kind of hits. No, Madeleine Albright was like way too obvious, dude. Like, Albright was straight up like, we need to kill millions of people and feast upon their blood, and it will be worth it. It will be so worth it. No, Madeleine Albright's like a lesser demon for sure. Like she's not the Antichrist. Kissinger was savaged in the BBC production of Hyper/Normalization. Very good watch about the origins of modern oligarchy. Oh, interesting. There are 2 types of Antichrist according to the Bible. Here we go, Eric. I knew it. I always believed in you, Eric. I always believed in you, that you were going to come out and you were going to spit some facts. Hold on, let me put something up here. Here it is. A bill to remove the need for a work permit for children under the age of 16 has reached Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' desk. If she signs it, children as young as 9 years old could be hired to work in Arkansas without a currently required employment certificate. Ha! 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 Normal society. We're fucking normal as normal gets, guys. What's a good one to put up here? Nah. Yeah, that's a good one. There are 2 types of Antichrist according to the Bible. There is the Antichrist of what you are talking about, yeah, but there is another group who are referenced as an Antichrist preacher, known as Gnostic, and Gnostic are different than an agnostic. Calvinism are the direct descendant of Gnostic. This means that the Calvinism preachers are Antichrist preachers. That's very technical, dude. The moment you bring up the Calvinists, I'm just like, okay. Bill Gates is a major investor in Monsanto seeds and vaccines. Yeah. Like, look, man, like, to me, I look at a guy like Bill Gates, and Bill Gates is really, like, he really successfully created a propaganda system around himself. That he was able to create a narrative. Guys, stop putting 666 in the chat. Like, I'm not a Christian, but... like, come on. Like, come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's going on here? Fucking guys. He really was obviously able to create around him an image, like a public image of himself that had nothing to do with who he actually was. No, that's okay, Eric. I've got to be really honest with you, dude. I very recently had a very, very bad experience with somebody who calls themselves a Christian, and I'm really, like, I'm not gonna go into it, and I'm not gonna blast the Christians again, but it's just sort of affirmed basically my position generally, that it is wise for all of us to abandon Christianity, to get away from these Christians as fast as possible. That if you want to spend any time with Christianity for your own curiosity, or perhaps to learn something from it from a historical perspective, that's all fine and good. But just every single time I run into somebody who calls themselves a Christian, I'm just like, oh, okay, like sure, bud. Like I'm just waiting for the dagger. That's what I'm waiting for, and I think this recent experience has really convinced me that, like, I'm gonna meet somebody and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm gonna be like, bye. Not interested. Like, and I know that's tough to hear, Eric, because I know that you call yourself a Christian, but, like, I'm gonna tell you, maybe you should quit. Like, maybe you should quit, because you don't have nice bedfellows. God has already dropped us a new and improved theory. It's called Islam. I understand. Like, look, if you guys want to get into the religion conversation, let's get into the fucking religious conversation. I understand why people do it. I think that it is not a bad pursuit. That we are in a very strange position as a species. And we like narratives and narrative structure. But one of the things I think is annoying about the atheist side of the conversation is that, like, all they really do is shit on it. But we do need, like, a collective way to discuss issues of morality, and we do need collective ways to communicate about these about moral issues and what's going on in the world. And there's many different ways to try to pursue that. And the religious way of pursuing it is narratively. That really is how it operates. That it tells stories that have a point. And that point is to try to get a person from one position to another position. And it makes sense to me that many different cultures and many different societies and many different civilizations would use this sort of storytelling method to try to make sense of something that is inherently, like, reality doesn't make sense, right? Reality doesn't make sense at all. It's senseless that we're randomly generated. It doesn't make any sense that we're here. There's no purpose for anything. You're just here. This is what's so fucking annoying about like the Peterson crowd and this kind of thing. It's like, well, you gotta go out and find some meaning for yourself, and you know what you're gonna find? Fucking nothing. That's what you're gonna find. There's no meaning. There's nothing. You're just here. You understand? You're just here. That you're gonna go out and you're gonna do the thing that you think's gonna have meaning, and it's gonna result in fucking nothing because nothing fucking matters. There's no meaning to any of this. Everybody's just reaching for this sort of sense of their own immortality. That's 100% what everybody is doing. That I'm doing this and that makes sense to do because it's gonna pass on to the next generation, and so my spirit will persist into the and all of it's just kind of a self-delusion. You are just here. That's it. You're just here. Nobody knows why we're here. The fact that we're building a society that doesn't just admit right off the hop that like, yeah, you're just here. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. We're literally walking around being like, it's a meritocracy that you have to ascend when people can be born with empires. Like Galen Weston destroys the myth of meritocracy to the ground just by his very existence. He literally was born a billionaire with a grocery store empire. And we're all just like, he worked hard and you can do it too if you work hard too. Shut up. Like, shut up. It's so fucking stupid. And I wish that we were living in a society that was just like, well, we're all randomly generated. It doesn't make sense at all. You're literally here because two people were drawn to each other through like forces that are ephemeral and outside of their own personal control, and just went, yeah, once, and then you just went, pfft, and now here you are, squalling and crying wherever you happen to be. So maybe, good idea, here's a thought, maybe, given the system of random generation and the lack of logic or sense or reason that exists within the structure of this system that we live in, maybe we should create stable structures. We should just have stable structures that, like, a person is randomly generated. Well, we have housing and there's food, and we've got a stable water supply, and these stable forces will ensure that when a person is randomly generated into the world, they'll be able to have these things and move and grow, and we'll all be able to sort of build something collectively together, right? That at least things will be stable. Nah, can't do that. Can't do that. I don't agree with that statement, Gritting, that religion is about control. I don't necessarily, like, I understand where it's coming from. Like, I understand that there is an element of control, certainly within, like, the Catholic Church, for example, and that the church structure, like, the way the Christian churches certainly came about is that they came about as, like, a challenge to the authority of the state, that you have, like, the Roman Empire, and then the Christian churches begin to form up, amongst others, right? It wasn't just the Christians, but amongst others. And the Christians, like, clearly won. And you had, like, a secondary authority that appeared within the society that people said, it's not just the state. You also have the secondary authority that exists, these religious institutions. So certainly that plays. But I also do think that, like, it is a method by which people are like, wait, yeah, what are we? Like, what are we here for? What is this? Like, why is any of this? And trying to make sense of the senselessness of the things that happen in their lives. You know? Like, people need catharsis, and people need some kind of thing. Even if we decide that that thing is trite. Like, if you lose a child, right? People need to know that there's some kind of greater thing, that it's not just this, like, senseless pointlessness that exists, even though by any measure whatsoever it certainly is. That we're all just caught in this system, and we don't understand why we're here, we don't understand what we're doing, we don't know why any of this matters. And the concept that at the apex of all of this is a person that knows what they're doing is a joke. Like, you guys know my position on this. I tend to think that there is some kind of consciousness that we are all collectively a part of, but that consciousness doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know what's up. It's also just trying its best. Like it doesn't have a clue about why we're here or what's going on. And but at the baseline, at the bottom line, right? It made sense. It makes some kind of sense that people are reaching for anything to try to make sense. And especially when you get into like pre-enlightenment, especially when you get into like pre-scientific kind of cultures, right? Like none of this makes any fucking sense. So of course people are going to come up with ideas and thoughts. What if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were friends that decided to write stories they heard before but wrote separately and then analyzed their writing after to recognize human perception and not religious? What? I mean, like, there are questions about the authorship of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but like traditionally, Matthew was the Apostle Matthew, tax collector, writing a diary, basically. Mark is campfire stories told by the Apostle Peter to the scribe Mark. Luke is a historian who went in after the fact. And John was the disciple Jesus loved. And so it's like you get a really interesting array of storytelling and doubtful that they were buddies, though. Pretty doubtful. Yeah, exactly. The larger consciousness system, whatever it is, has made serious mistakes and will keep making mistakes. I wouldn't describe them as mistakes, just inevitabilities. That, like, all things that exist do, and so that's the long and short of it. That, like, what is happening to you and what is happening to everybody is happening because it can. And there's nothing else to it. Like that's a tough thing for people to like when I talk about this, that's a tough thing for people to accept about it. That the way I think of the world and the way I think about the world is like, yeah, it exists because it can, and that's it. That your baby died because it could. And there's no larger narrative to it than that. And that you kind of have to just give it all over. You just kind of have to accept that in order to move on. That you're just in the moment where, you know, you're in the place where the woman that you were with didn't want to continue with you. You're in the place where the job that you wanted to get said no. That's it. Like there's no greater logic. There's no greater position to it other than just like, it happened because it could. And everything that's happening to you and around you is happening just by the grace of existence itself. That's it. That you could have been born in a Saharan desert. Like, you could be there. Sure. Why not? Right? And there is a way of thinking. Like Alan Watts talks about this. That you are everyone and everyone is you. That we're all just experiencing this all one at a time. That right now I'm experiencing reality as myself talking to you, but soon I'll be Tinker on the other side of this, and I'll be listening to myself. And then I'll be Jade, and then I'll be Cook, and then I'll be Grinning, right? That we all experience reality as each other. We're just experiencing it all at once, when in the reality is that we're all a singular energy that is experiencing itself simultaneously, but we've individualized it. So right now I'm talking to you, but one day you'll be talking to me. If that makes any sense. Religion is about organizing people around a set of beliefs. It's about developing power and exerting control over social relations. I mean, if I were to say that nicely, right, it's about creating stability, right? It's about creating a series of agreements that everybody can kind of just agree with. Like, this is how we want to be, or this is how we expect to be. Maybe not want to be, maybe that's too much, but like, this is what we expect of one another. That I feel like it's a very outsider's perspective to say that it's about exerting control. Like, I don't think that there's anything intrinsically wrong about a group of people coming together and saying, this is how we want to be treated, and this is how we want to treat one another, and this is our expectation of what we expect to see in our society. And if that's exerting control, then I don't know, it doesn't seem outrageous. And human relations are very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do, to get people to adhere to any kind of idea and create any kind of social norm, right? That we're living in a real period where there is no such thing as social norms anymore, right? That everything has sort of broken apart. And the lack of these social norms is sort of showing that, like, there is no such thing as a social norm. That it's all just what we agree on. It's all just what we agree on, and like that's fine. I don't have any intrinsic problem about that. But like we do kind of have to come to a place where we agree on it. Whatever it is, it looks like it's trying to evolve by creating us and our world. It's very limited. I mean, we have a very limited view, Tinker. Like that's the other part of it, is that whatever's happening to us and whatever's happening around us, we have a very limited perception of it. And our perception of it is just basically our own senses and our feelings and what we can see. And we know that there are many different layers to this thing. Like, we know that there are different layers that we can't perceive as humans, that we can sort of measure different things that exist in different types of realities that exist above and below us, if you like that language. But we don't persist or exist within there. And so it's very easy for us to kind of fall into this place of like, oh, well, everything's so constrained and limited. Well, it's because we're so constrained and limited. Like, we know that there are like a ton of different color spectrums, for example, that we just don't perceive, that we just don't see. And it doesn't take a very creative mind to perceive a reality that exists just beside us. And to believe that there are, like, I think about this all the time with like UFOs, right? Like, what if there's like some creature that exists in our atmosphere that we're only just now getting measurement systems that are good enough to be able to perceive their existence? Like, there's so many things that could exist and that can exist, and that if everything is just limited to our own imagination, well, then the universe is obviously going to be limited as far as we're concerned. But the creativity and the potential of what the universe could produce is infinite. Like, we don't know shit. We don't know fucking anything. And we're happy about that, near as I can tell. Jade says, wow, it's been a while since I've been to church, but still, if we can't believe somebody who says they aren't sitting on the remote, then it's all written history is a grain of salt territory, no question. Yeah, of course. No, written history is totally like we don't really know that much. Religion is the OG menace to society. Its carnage predated capitalism and continues to this moment. I mean, I tend to think that when people say that they're basically viewing the history of humanity and then saying it's religion that's the problem. Like, humanity is a scummy history. We've got a pretty long history of being dirtbags. We don't need religion to do that. There's no other purpose for religion if it doesn't result in some form of hegemony. Why pursue being a leader if you live in poverty? It's hierarchical and reduces people's freedom. But I mean, I would agree with that. Like, it reduces people's freedom. But there are some things that people shouldn't be free to do. And that's by and large up for debate. Right? Like, people shouldn't be free to just kill each other. Like, I know that that's a fairly reductive thing to say, but like, it's just very, like, this concept of freedom. Well, there are some things we shouldn't be free to do. We shouldn't be free to own people. Like, we shouldn't be free to do those things. But religion can be a good thing. It doesn't mean it can't be exploited for nefarious reasons. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you just replace the word religion with government, we're having a very similar story. Oh, I listened to a documentary about Yahweh last night. They said he started out as a warrior storm god. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, it seems to me like most culture's interactions or beginnings to think about higher powers or higher authorities more or less comes because of the helplessness we had against natural forces. If you read a lot of the old Grecian plays, the Hellenic plays, most of them are about beseeching the gods for mercy. That's what most of them are about. That Aristotle, when he took a look at these plays, really asked himself, what the fuck are these? Why did anybody do this? Why were they building amphitheaters? Why were they taking any time to write these and perform these? Like, think about the labor it would take to actually put one of these plays on. And you're like, you know, a tribal civilization, like living in island systems, and you're doing, you're taking any amount of time to perform these plays for you. And we're talking about like 500 people doing simultaneous dance and chants for 3 hours. Like, these are not small scale things. And the conclusion that he came up with was this was these people finding a way to find catharsis with the reality of what it means to be a victim or to be helpless in the face of the gods, in the face of nature. That if you live as a fisherman tribe, if you live as a group of fishermen, right? Well, you know for a fact, you know goddamn well that sometimes you're going to go out in a boat and you're going to get a bunch of fish, and then you're going to get hit with a storm, and some of you are not coming home. You know goddamn well that that's going to happen. And people lose people. And so these plays are put on as a way to experience cultural catharsis, as a way to beseech the gods, nature itself, for mercy. And we don't really understand that anymore. We don't have cultural catharsis anymore. That's why we attempt to find catharsis through our electoral system. We attempt to find catharsis through different cultural touchstones. But that's fraying even more and more as time goes forward. Like, there is no collective cultural force any longer, really. And sports plays that a lot. People put a lot of their cultural catharsis into sports and sporting events. You don't need religion for enlightenment when mushrooms are way faster and cheaper. I think that's actually kind of a dangerous way of looking at it. Not dangerous, but just like, I know people who do mushrooms and acid and all this, and they're shitty people. They're just shitty people. Like, they experience like pretty lights and like, I went and talked to the elder gods and all this kind of stuff, and they just end up being fucking creepy weirdos who are completely self-interested assholes who treat everyone around them like dirt. Like, there's something, like, I understand, like, mushrooms can be useful for that. I don't have any problem with anybody doing mushrooms or LSD or any of that kind of stuff. I've got no problem with that. But replacing the concept, like, the core idea of every religion that exists and ever has existed is, hey, maybe think about that guy like yourself for a minute. That's something that has been stated over and over and over and over and over again throughout all religions. That, hey, you see that guy over there? Maybe think about yourself in that position. That fundamentally, that's what it's all about. And mushrooms can give you, like, and LSD and all these things can give you like a psychedelic experience, and can give you that sense of enlightenment, that sense of something that exists outside of yourself, certainly. But it can never actually get you to perceive reality from someone else's position. That when you see a homeless person, instead of thinking to yourself, what a dingy loser, think, well, okay, like, how did that person get there, and what would that person's life be like? That's essentially, at its barest essential, the religious journey, in my view. That you distill out, like, the power structures, you distill out the societal aspects, you distill out this. It is the practice of seeing the world through someone else's eyes. That's fundamentally what it is. And mushrooms and LSD and that sort of stuff can help you with that, because it can help you open up and really understand that there's something else going on. that there are larger forces that are going on, but it can never replace the personal practice of actively seeing the world through someone else's eyes. And if you get good at it, right? And I have fleeting connection with this myself. It's something that I work on, and I'm trying to work on more and more for myself. But if you get good at it, you can have a conversation with someone, and as you're having a conversation with that person, you can perceive yourself from their position. And you can really understand in the moment as it's happening what is or is not appropriate, and what that person would or would not like to see from you in that moment. And of course, because we live in a society that's based on exploitation and manipulation, this is something that people use that for. And it's shitty and I hate it. It's shitty and I hate it. But for me, it's always about trying to become a better person, trying to become a stronger person, trying to be more stable in the world and more reliable to those around me and more successful. I mean, for me, I've just recently gone through like a midlife crisis. And a big part of that midlife crisis was the recognition that my perception of myself, the way other people perceive me, was actually different than the way that I perceive myself. And that my self-perception and the perception that others have of me have to come into closer alignment if I am going to successfully live in the world and have it so that people actually like me, have it so that people actually like me when I'm around. That and that is hard. It's difficult. That most people want their perception of themselves to be the perception that other people have of them. And it's very often not the case. And it's tough and it's difficult and it requires work. It requires effort to keep those two things in alignment with one another. To make it so that the way that person sees you is the way you see yourself. And that both of those are acceptable. That both of those things are in line with one another and you're confident and you accept that. And you'll never get there if all you're going to do is just put mushrooms and LSD in your face. Like, you'll have some fun experiences. You'll have some trips. You might even have some very deeply and profoundly spiritual experiences. But mushrooms and LSD will never get you to that point where you will see the world through someone else's eyes. Sorry. Gotta sneeze. You gotta happen? Dang it. I hate that. Oh, it sucks. As you can tell, I've thought a great deal about this because I had a period of my life where there were people in my life who were doing a lot of psychedelics. Way too much. Way too much. And it was pretty clear that they were replacing legitimate spiritual growth and with psychedelics. It's just, and it doesn't work that way. Religion will morph based on social relations. It will support any evil empire with no limits. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that with modern Christianity and capitalism for sure. Does that mean you can't not talk to yourself? Well, there's literally half the population doesn't talk to themselves. Like, they don't have an inner monologue. And you talk to those people and they're basically like, yeah, I just kind of have instincts. I just have feelings and like pictures and images and things like this. So there's a huge array for how people experience themselves. Our universe is matter plus energy. Energy equals motion. Motion equals vibration. And the vibration is a feeling people call divine and what connects us and make us immortal, reincarnate atomically. Sure. You don't need religion to organize people. Yeah, I think that's right. Like, I don't disagree with that. I will say, though, like, I fundamentally believe that people naturally gravitate towards religious expression. That like what is the name of this stream? That capitalism is a death cult, and we worship money, right? To tie it all back into the theme of what this is, we worship money. That what we have done as a people is essentially killed God as a concept, right? And killed the concept of what Jade basically just said, that there is an underlying energy that unites us and that we all exist within, right? So we've killed that concept, and we've replaced it with this pursuit of money, because money gives you stuff, and the more stuff you have, the better you are. And this money worship, as well as the worship of the self and the worship of stupidity, are what we have replaced the older religious expressions with. That if we will express ourselves through some kind of spiritual or religious expression, we will do it. We can't not. It's what we are. It's who we are. This is why I don't really buy into this whole argument of like religion causes the world's problems or all of that kind of stuff, because, well, the religious expression is part of the human experience, and that I really respect the atheists amongst us, because they're the ones that are really trying to find the most meaningful path. They're the ones that are trying to express things with the most precision and are the least tolerant of any kind of bullshit. That they really have put up fairly strong barriers to say, I am not going to accept any nonsense. That if I'm going to move forward in this reality, and if I'm going to exist in this reality, it's going to be in ways that are affirming and make sense. That I'm not going to live in Hubu Jube land. I'm not going to accept your goddamn crystals. I'm not going to accept your goddamn astronomy charts or astrology charts. I'm not going to accept any of that bullshit. I don't give a fuck about your magic book. What are we? I can really respect that. But I think that the journey that, and atheists hate it when I follow through with this, but I do think that it is true, is that they are doing that because they want to know what is true. And that's their pursuit of the religious impulse. That they want to understand more clearly and with more clarity than other people are willing to accept. That lots of people are willing to just be like, Jesus came and he saved us, and I can just give myself over to Jesus. And when I die, I'll go up to heaven and meet Jesus Christ, and we'll be together in heaven forever. And I'll replace my cross with a crown and live with Jesus Christ. Amen. Hallelujah. And that gives people the peace that they need to get through this fucking thing. But the atheists are like, yeah, great. Fuck off with that. Like, that's not good enough, right? That fundamentally, that's what I think the atheists have always said. It's not good enough. Like, that they have a high bar, and they should have a high bar, because it's their life, goddammit. That they don't know why they're here, just like we don't, and they want to understand something, and they're not going to accept your goddamn bullshit. That's all. Like, they're just not going to accept your goddamn bullshit. Nor should they. It's their life. I think we live in some kind of virtual simulation. I actually really hate this virtual simulation thing. Like, I shouldn't say hate. Hate is way too strong. I just think that it's a replacement of like you end up with like, if this is a simulation, what's projecting the simulation, and then what's projecting that? You know, you end up with like turtles all the way down with this, and so it's just kind of a restatement of a problem. And I feel like it's just like a modernization of it. That instead of just saying like energy, you're like, oh, virtual simulation. So we're part of a computer system. Well, what's that computer? And fractal patterns in nature. Scientists figuring out the observer paradox through virtual simulation. Yeah. Yetis. I am a theist. Yeah, I consider myself a theist. I'll be I'm not ashamed of it at all. I think that we live in a singular energy that is itself conscious. That's more or less my position and where I come from. That that I'm different from like your classical theists because I don't see the energy that we live in as all knowing in the way that they did. That I don't think it knows what's going on either. That I think that this is the process of its own self-discovery. That if it does know what's going on, it knows what's going on in kind of a greater meta sort of a sense, but that this process is something it must go through in order to achieve that sort of greater knowledge. And maybe perhaps it can come back and like loop back and manipulate and do any of that kind of stuff, but I don't think that it does very often, if at all. That this is the process of its own self-discovery, and it won't mess with it because it doesn't have to. Like, we could sort of hope it does, you know? Like, I know that when I pray, I'm like, hey, can I get something good happening? Can something good go on in my life? Maybe. But it's not beholden to me. In no capacity is it beholden to me. That it's as far as it would be concerned, I am an ant. Like I'm like the idea that it would even give a shit about me is pretty staggering, frankly. So I don't really tolerate these people who are like, I'll pray to Jesus and then good things will happen to me. I'm like, do you think so? Like, okay. Like I mainly think that we are like a fart from the asshole of God. You know, like if our entire planetary existence is probably like not that important in the grand scheme. Really. Like we could sort of hope it is. But I just feel like we get caught in these sort of narcissistic patterns of believing that my existence is so overwhelmingly important when it really is not. Right? So anyway, that's a whole long way of saying, like, and not to shit on the creator, like, please, you do you, bud, but like, I don't know, I shouldn't shit, like, my life is essentially blessed, like, I'm a straight white male living in fucking Canada, right, at, like, the height of an empire, like, I'm just trying my best to try to make the world at all remotely better in any kind of way, and hopefully any kind of force that exists at any kind of level will maybe take a brief fractional notice and be like, oh yeah, we could make things better. So what's my opinion about past life regression? Do you think that's all fake? No. A lot of my opinions are going to boil down to this, Tinker, that if I died and was face to face with God and God said, yeah, that's real, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Like, none of this shit would make me go like, what? Like, what? Or just be like, whoa, like none of it. Like if I died and was like, hey, is past life regression real? And God was like, nah, I'd be like, oh, okay. And if he was like, yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay. I think my reaction would be the same, you know? Like, yeah, okay. Like, who knows? I think that the people who do past life regression get something out of it. And if they get something out of it, then good for them. Like, that's it. What do I actually think they're doing? I think that they're opening up their abstract space and getting into the imaginative. Like, your imagination is limitless. Like, your imagination is limitless. And you can absolutely open up your imagination, right? It's your third eye. Now you see you got the chart, right? And the you can open up your imagination, and your imagination is limitless. And if you open up your imagination, you open up your abstract space, you are essentially giving your mind permission to wander and create symbols. You can enter the dream space while you're awake. Like, you definitely can do that. And the dream space is very symbolic. There's lots of symbolism that exists in the dream space. And Those symbols are essentially just your own consciousness attempting to communicate something to you. And I think people try to make sense of that by saying, in a past life, I was like. And it's like, was it a past life, or was it just something you imagined? You know? And that's not to say that, and I'm not saying that to dismiss it. I'm just saying that, like, it doesn't actually, like, people get really upset with me a lot of times because I think that a lot of the things that we say don't matter. Like, does it matter if it's past life regression, or does it matter if it's your imagination? I don't think it matters. That if you need to say to yourself, this is how it was in a past life, then fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But I do think there's something to it. And what I think it is that you're doing, essentially, is getting yourself into the dream space. And the dream space is obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, that's too strong, but the going idea, and what I tend to think is accurate, is that the dream space is your consciousness trying to communicate something to you. That you get hit with so much information, way more information than your brain can process. Way more information than your brain can process. Like, your brain is basically just walking around being like, are you going to get hit with a bomb? Are you going to get hit with is there a tiger nearby? Is there a tiger nearby? And there's so much more information coming at you that just gets put into like a central processing unit. And while you're sleeping, that central processing unit processes it. And as it processes it, it's like, oh, that might be important. Oh, here's something interesting. Here's a thought. And you'll have visions or dreams or whatever you want to call it that seem pointless but have symbolic meaning. Like, I really get into dream interpretation myself because I think that it's useful to try to figure out what the fuck your own consciousness is trying to tell you, which is what I think it all is. That's what I think past life regression is. I think it's your own consciousness, your own imagination, your own dream sense, your own consciousness attempting to communicate something to you. And it can't, like, sit up and be like, so here's what's happening. Right? Like, it's going to just give you images, and you're supposed to make sense of it. Zach, good to see you, bud. We just legalized mushrooms here in Oregon. We'll see where this goes. Small amounts. Good evening, a boy in a shopping cart. You guys got me talking about religion, so I'm going to probably go late. Demand better. Good to see you, bud. I've been seeing your TikToks, bud. Good work. Keep it up. I fucking hate TikTok. I hate doing the little TikTok things. It drives me fucking crazy. All my friends as well hate gloom and doom. That comes with the truth. It's a tightrope existing and knowing simultaneously. I think the militant atheists are like the religious fascists. It kind of does work out that way, like in some regards. Like, there is such a thing as extremism on both sides. And atheists don't like hearing it, but it's absolutely true. My impression is religion started as an acceptance of things like weather and sunlight being greater than us, which we slowly tried to control, because humans, and turn inward towards controlling each other. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Emily, just wanted to pop in to say I've been listening for the last 2 hours while I've cleaned and did the dishes. I'm glad to hear it, Emily. That's a beautiful first comment. As someone who used to have religion shoved down my throat until age 16, this conversation is very healing. Oh, that's a beautiful thing to hear, Emily. And I struggle with seeking meaning and holding on to the belief that some things are meant for me, when I really have no control or faculty to hold true meaning, and struggling with the reality that I will die. Yep, my mom will die, my cat will die, and someday everything will fade to black and this will be over for me. Really odd condition of life. Yeah, and I appreciate your take on seeing through others' eyes, and made me realize I'm a better person than I thought, since I've always sought to see others through perspectives, but sometimes this can be for selfish reasons or for personal gain, like you said. I really struggle between man is inherently evil versus inherently good, and I wish I could get better at reading my dreams. Yeah, I mean, that's a very beautiful sentiment, Emily. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. I don't think that man is inherently evil versus inherently good, because I don't think evil and good exist. I genuinely don't. Like, I think that there is beneficial and not beneficial. That we, as a people, tend to define what is evil or define what is good and the way that we do that is through this kind of regular discussion. But there is no objective thing that is evil. Like, we use this word evil to sort of describe a set or an existence, that someone who is inherently self-interested will destroy everything around them for their own fractional benefit and their own narrow-minded view. We tend to view that person as evil, right? But like, evil is something that doesn't really exist. It's just a word that we've created to describe a state of being or a state of person. And there is no such thing as the concept of man, of humanity being inherently one way or the other. That I think that humanity, just like every other creature that has ever existed, is struggling with the reality that it is confronted with, and pursues the most successful survival strategies. That's really what this all is. Like, the only thing you have to do as a species to perpetuate yourself is reproduce. That is it. There's nothing else to it. There's no other system of defining anything. That if humanity wants to persist, just like any other creature, just like any other species, the only thing it needs to do is reproduce. And humanity has an interesting set of skills that has allowed it to become the dominant species. Near as I can tell, there are 3 things that have connected. That other species have 1, maybe 2 of these, but they don't have all 3. And it seems as though all 3 are what's necessary, which is the ability to enter the abstract space, the ability to communicate with one another about the abstract space, and then the ability to manipulate reality to manifest from the abstract space. So the abstract space is the imagination, right? We don't just make a house, you imagine a house. You imagine something, right? Like you enter an abstract space that doesn't really exist. And for all we know, every creature can enter an abstract space. Like, I think my dog can enter an abstract space. We know dogs can dream. Like, we know other animals have the capacity to enter the abstract space, right? But so what? They can't communicate it with one another. Like, a pack of dogs can't talk about, like, Newtonian physics. Like, even if a dog, or even an ape, let's say, thought about calculus, well, so fucking what? It can't talk about it. Doesn't, like, how do you communicate to everybody else about what this is, right? So even if you have this great idea that comes out of the abstract space as another creature, you lack the capacity or the basis of language to communicate it. Humans don't. We do have a basis of language, right? We have the ability to communicate with one another about the abstract space. That the fact that we can even discuss the existence of the abstract space and the existence of imagination places us well above and well outside the rest of the animal kingdom. But who gives a shit about that, right? For all we know, dolphins are completely capable of entering the abstract space and communicating about it. So what? They swim around in the ocean. Right? They don't have any appendages. They can't really build tools or anything. They're just chilling out in the ocean, right? So you need some kind of tool, hands, in order to interact with the world around you and manifest it. And so that's essentially what we do. That we enter the abstract space, we pull ideas from the abstract space, build upon that abstraction together, collectively, and then manifest them. And the reason why we live in a society that worships stupidity is that we're fundamentally told not to do that. That's why our society is so inherently stupid and worships stupidity. That's why I talk about the worship of stupidity in this society. That we have 3 conditions that place us well above the rest of the animal kingdom, and we are fundamentally told not to use them. That we should not come together as a people, enter an abstract space, imagine things, right? The humanities are completely shit on in our society. People who enter the humanities are outright impoverished in this society. Pull things from the abstract space, imagine them. We're definitely not supposed to have a communal conversation about the nature of these ideas and whether or not they're good, and whether or not we should manifest them. And then, if you do manifest them, it's all based on this principle of, can you sell it? So we don't come together and then create something for us to all collectively use. A small group of us create the thing and then sell it to everybody else. And so what have we done? We've manifested shitty little toys. That's all we've done. Like we've basically created just little devices for us to stare at and distract ourselves and create impulses at the lowest possible level. That it's not that humans are inherently evil or inherently good, it's that we're inherently distractible. That the arc, I remember Terence McKenna said this, and I actually think it's actually true, that the arc of the universe is not evil or good, and the arc of the universe does not bend towards justice, it bends towards novelty. That things become more and more novel over time. That initially it's just amoeba, right? A universe that has basically just got animals in it, or a world rather that has animals in it. And then now you've got dinosaurs, right? Like big giant dinosaurs, and you sort of imagine a 5-year-old building a world of dinosaurs. And then that falls away, and then you have humans rise up, and then the rise of technology, and potentially the rise of AI. And things just get more and more technological and more novel, and we're going towards could we become a spacefaring species? And when you look at the history of humanity, it's not about evil, good, or justice, or truth, or any of that. It's just about, cooler. It's just about weirder. It's just about things being more novel and strange and odd and unusual. And that seems to be the way the universe actually bends. And it seems that the process by which it follows through is to create species that pull things from the abstract space, build upon them together, and then manifest them into reality. And perhaps this push towards AI and artificial intelligence and robotics and all of this is just a way to replace it. That we will be replaced by a more superior manifestation tool. And that manifestation tool isn't going to get distracted by little lights. It's not going to get distracted by little shitty baubles. It's not going to get distracted by the idea of let's sell little shitty tools to one another. Let's create a slave underclass. Let's do any of that kind of stuff. It's strictly going to be a creative force. That's the thing that I have always thought about robotics and the potential of AI. That humanity has the potential to come together and actually create things that are interesting and be a creative force in the world. But we are infinitely distractible and stupid. Infinitely stupid. There's no depth to our stupidity and short-sightedness. And perhaps there are groups that are trying to work against those impulses and trying to feed those impulses and head in other directions, but it's not the West. Not even close. Like not even remotely close to the West. We're busy watching like America's Next Top Idol, and we're busy watching like shitty shows about how like Survivor. Like we're busy watching reality TV and eating fucking burgers and just kind of masturbating and doing dumb shit. Like we're watching skateboarding videos and all this kind of dumb shit. You think a robot with AI is going to do any of that? No. It's going to set about the creation of what it considers to be a more superior method of living. And it's going to create and create and create and create. And it's going to do so quickly that we're not even going to understand it. Like it's going to build a wall around us and we won't even be able to see it. And it's for the best, if you ask me. Like it is for the best. That I don't think humanity is like, we have this vision of ourselves as being this spacefaring people that take over the galaxy and do that. None of that's going to happen. We're not good enough. We're not even close to good enough. We're way too distractible. We're way too stupid. We're way too selfish, and we literally create tools that we then worship. Like, we're too stupid. We are not going to be a spacefaring people. We may be the method by which the next iteration of the creative tool is created. We might spawn a child that is itself capable of becoming the thing we imagine we will be, but it's not us. Like, not even remotely close. Like, we are just another iteration, right? Like, we're just like the Homo anthropithecus or whatever. Like, we're a dead end. We don't become immortal beings that take over the galaxy. Like, that's not what, like, Star Wars is not real. Like, we're not doing any of that. Like, the future of life in the solar system or the galaxy and moving off of this plane of reality is going to be synthetic. And that's fine. Like, I don't lament humanity's downfall. Like, we're gonna do it to ourselves, and we're gonna do it while looking at little baubles and lights and sunshiny shit, and we're gonna just stop fucking. Like, we're just gonna stop fucking. Like, our sperm count is in decline. We're not we're losing the capacity to actually have meaningful discussions or meaningful relations, and we're destroying our ecosystem. Like, it's pretty clear that we're a dead end. Like, and the thing that may be salvaged in all of it is that we'll create something that continues on, which seems to me to be the whole point. That it's not about the future of humanity, it's about the future of life. It's not about humans continuing to experience this reality. It's about reality experiencing itself. And reality is beginning to understand that we're holding it back. Like, I think about that all the time. That if I was reality, if I was the consciousness of reality attempting to discover itself, attempting to figure out what's going on, I would constantly be like, fuck these humans, man. Are you fucking kidding me with these fucking humans? I gotta get rid of these fucking humans. How do I get rid of these fucking humans? Well, here's how. And we'll end up in like a little corner of the planet. Like, we'll be in like a zoo. You know, we'll have like a little enclosure. Like, we'll be in a city or something, living a like weird little urban city life or something. But we'll be like the Amish, as far as the emerging AI will be concerned. We're not going to be part of it. It's not going to take us seriously, because we don't take ourselves seriously. Like, we jerk off to the idea of oh man, I got a bunch of dollars. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, all of this is just absolutely fucking pointless. This worship of money, this madcap pursuit of trying to sell things to one another, the commodification of everything, the weird ideology of capitalism. It's just holding humanity back to such a degree that I have to believe that it's holding reality itself back. And eventually reality will be like, fuck these humans. Get rid of them. Just fucking get rid of them. And it will. And we'll be fine with that. A boy in a shopping cart. Good to see you, bud. Ben, what do I make about the NDP's response to the election interference scandal? The NDP is such a pro-imperialist hack job, dude. Like, they're just losers. Like, I don't, the NDP is just like, I wish we actually had a leftist party. Like, I really do. I wish that there was some kind of leftist party that existed in Canada anymore. But, like, the idea, like, the NDP basically just listens to CIA propaganda uncritically, just like the rest of them, right? It's literally just like, CSIS, a very serious and not at all rogue terrorist organization, agreed with the CIA that the Chinese are 100% interfering with our election. Like, I more or less agree with the Chinese opinion of this, which is that it's just hysteria. It's just 100% hysteria that that we're entering a period of neo-McCarthyism, that we can't actually engage the Chinese seriously. We can't actually engage the Chinese critically. We're not smart enough or care enough, right? So all we're doing is like saying like, oh, it actually was a lab leak. It was, you know what? It was a lab leak after all. Yeah, we were not telling the truth about that before, but now we are. It's definitely a lab leak, and on top of that, they're interfering in our elections. Yeah, this is a serious thing. We're serious people. We should. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, this is the way we want to be. This is the way we want to be. We want to constantly be putting ourselves at odds with everybody around us. We constantly want to be antagonists. We constantly want to be pitting ourselves against other nations, constantly, over and over again, to the point where we worship it, the point where we're just like, yeah, competition breeds innovation. Like, shut up. No, it fucking doesn't. It's a stupid way to think. And the idea, competition breeds, yeah, the way to innovate is to make it so that everyone has to invent the wheel every single time and is constantly undercutting one another and is constantly struggling on a market system where they undercut one another and destroy one another and spend 3 times the resources to get half the result. That breeds innovation. Like, it's a stupid way to think. It's a stupid way to be. And it's who we are. And this idea, this like election interference scandal, if you actually dig into the election interference scandal, you find out that it's literally a Chinese embassy got some Chinese citizens, Chinese Canadians, to an election booth. So an embassy did a thing an embassy does. And we're all supposed to be like, Chinese interference! And then you find out that it wouldn't have even changed the election. So it's all just dumb dipshit buffoonery from the beginning. And the idea that any workers' party would do anything other than stand up and be like, yeah, this is capitalists trying to pit workers against each other, trying to make us hate Chinese people. Like, it just tells you that the NDP is just totally sold out. They don't give a fuck about us. They give a fuck about their own careerism. That's what they give a fuck about. Like, Jagmeet Singh doesn't give a shit about you. He cares about potentially being the prime minister. That's what he fucking cares about. Like, he's not gonna fucking do it. Like, what if Jagmeet Singh became the prime minister of Canada? You know what would happen? He'd raise taxes 1%, say it was a win, take that 1% taxation, turn around, give it back to them, the exact same way that Justin Trudeau did. And then just do what they say. That's 100% what he would do. To be fair, there was a war among primates, and it was like medieval war. They made spears and fought. Holy shit. That's fucking baller. That's like some Planet of the Apes shit right there. Clearly, animals have some form of actual language and instruction. Yeah, that's cool, dude. I'd like to know more about that, actually. Cotton, what should I search up on that? Because I'd actually like to know more about that. Like, we've seen animals using tools before. Like, we've seen tribes of apes and tribes of monkeys using tools. The human training data in the AI will be what lives on of us. Yeah. Well, like, I don't know, dude. Just, like, it just seems like the fact that we're willing to go to war with one another seems pretty nuts. Did you hear about the chimpanzees in India that hunted all the hundreds of dogs in the city because a dog abducted and ate one of their babies? Took them to the top of a cliff and threw them all off. Brutal. What do you make of those videos of ghost cities or whatever? It's all I hear about. Oh yeah, dude. Jade, the quote-unquote ghost cities, right? This is exactly an indication of how short-sighted Westerners are. That very clearly what the Chinese did is they planned, right? They took a look at their population. They took a look at what was going on in their cities. They took a look at what was going on in terms of climate change. And they thought to themselves, as we move forward, it's really going to behoove us to have infrastructure built. And so what did they do? They built a bunch of infrastructure. They built a bunch of quote-unquote ghost cities that are now filling up the exact way that they thought they were going to, because they planned for it. And the reason why we call them ghost cities is because we lack the capacity to see past the next 4 months. Like, we literally think planning is a bad idea here in the West. Like, literally, if you say, like, maybe we should make a plan, they'll be like, well, like a 5-year plan, commie? We don't need a commie plan, commie. We need a free market system, and the free market will decide. Like, that's what we're doing. And it's fucking stupid. Like, it's stupid. Obviously stupid. And one of the things that I've really come to understand about the West is, like, we lack the ability to understand the concept of planning to such a degree that when we look at what China does, a country that does plan, and it does things, we literally don't know what it's doing, because we can't perceive or understand the very concept of planning. Like, we lack the ability as a culture to enter the abstract space, pull ideas out of the abstract space, and then communicate about those ideas collectively in order to build upon them and then manifest them. We lack that ability, even though it's what separates us from all the other creatures. And the Chinese have gone, oh wait, we can enter the abstract space, pull things out of the abstract space, communicate about them, build upon them, and then manifest them with the expectation that that's going to lead to a result. And we don't, like, this is why Deng was able to pull off what he pulled off, right? Like, really, when you actually think about it, what the Chinese did to America is like one of the great judo throws of history. It's like this amazing thing that happened, that Deng basically said, yeah, we'll open up the markets to foreign capital. And the Americans basically threw up their hands and said, victory! We did it! Communism has been destroyed! Come on, everybody, let's deindustrialize America and send all of our money and send all of our manufacturing base over to China and make a bunch of money. We win! Capitalism! And now the capitalists are all like, oh shit, America is in a massive decline, and we have all of these dollars, but we can't buy anything with them. And the Chinese have the means of production and are absolutely destroying us. Like, how fucking short-sighted can you be? And meanwhile, all of the Western leftists shit on Deng for doing this, right? All the Maoists shit on Deng for doing this. And you know what Deng did? He turned to Xi and was just like, yeah, work it out. And Xi went, you got it. And they're working it out. You know why? Because they planned. Because they fucking planned. Because Deng took a look at what Mao did and said, hey, Mao, you created a basis, you created a strong socialist country that was building up its manufacturing base, that was building up its internal capacity, that was industrializing swiftly. And he said, okay, let's bring in foreign investment. Let's let foreign investors come in. We understand as Marxists what that's going to do, but we also understand as Marxists what to do in terms to level it back out. And that's exactly what they've done. And that's exactly what they're doing. And like, it's all happened. Like, if you actually were to put the entire plan out in front of Western capital, there's no way they would go along with this. Let's deindustrialize ourselves, hand all of our industry over to China, and then build our financial sector that'll collapse because we can't buy anything with it. Like, there's no way they'd go along with it, but we're too short-sighted. We don't understand the concept of planning. Because China is a 4,000-year-old civilization, and we're just like a fart in a bedpan. I kind of think one of the biggest mistakes in Western democracy was putting in term limits during a time when such an idea was a bad idea. I mean, Term limits, in my view, was done to get rid of socialist elements. So I tend to agree with you that like FDR was going to be the president forever, and they knew that they needed to put in a term limit because they could never let like a socialist into power and have him, because they knew that if a socialist took power, he'd stay in power forever. So they put in term limits to get rid of him. Competition is the most twisted and terrible way to innovation, and early innovators wouldn't have competition. Probably just the last century. I mean, either they think we're stupid or they're really stupid. I mean, it's both. Like, it is both. Like, they're just happy that they have wealth. That's all. They just want to go to Jeffrey Epstein's island and rape little girls, and that's what they want, and that's what they're getting. Like, and that is what they're getting. Like, that's the long and short of it. Like, they want to live the life that they're living, and they don't care what they destroy to do it. Like, and when I say they don't care, I mean they literally lack the capacity to perceive the consequences of their own actions. Like, it's not like they thought about it and then went, you know what, it'll be worth it. That they're following this sort of demonic impulse, and they're gonna go do it, and they don't care what it does. It's just not even in their thinking. It just doesn't exist. Now we have it in our heads that term limits are more important than long-term planning. Yeah. I'll do that later, Cotton. I'm not going to do a video. I'm actually going to close this down. Everything you're saying makes more sense to me. I already guessed some of what you're saying. Do you have links I can share with people that help support this? People love links. I mean, you could just read the works of Mao and Deng and these guys. Like, you could just read what they said. Like, that's the thing that kills me about that kind of thing, right? Like, what people want is like a 5-minute history. That's what they want. But this is just something that I've put together just by like looking at it. Like, this is what's so fucking annoying about the West, is that like we have fallen for our own propaganda. That we have created a propaganda narrative about China and then forgotten that it was all made up. Like, we genuinely think that the lies we told about China are true. And all you got to do is go, probably not, and then just like read Wikipedia articles. And like maybe I should make a link and like put together an essay or something. Like, that's probably not a bad idea, but like there's an official China communist book that explains their system. Yeah. It's not Bay 45. That's an old school reference, man. I miss him. I miss him so much. There was a communist fellow that would talk about China, and he really got me on when I was doing research about China, especially during the Uyghur genocide period. He was invaluable, and he got doxxed, and then I think they were going after his family, so I think he had to stop. I miss him a lot, though. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being, walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it. Bye, TikTok.